Thank you for tuning into the SeaBros Fishing Podcast. On this episode, we had the pleasure of chatting with two very experienced bluefin tuna harpooners, Captain Joe Dion and Mike Hackah Miller. We have known Joe and Mike since our dock rat phase as kids. Mike has been chasing bluefin tuna since the handline fishing days in the 1970s, and Joe has been tuna fishing since he was a child. And his first ever trip harpooning was actually with Mike back in the 90s. Both of these guys were recently featured on the new Discovery Channel show Harpoon Hunters. If you haven't watched the show, you absolutely should. Some of the aerial shots they captured are incredible. In this conversation, Joe and Mike talk in detail about the harpoon fishery. They discuss everything from flying and spotting fish from the plane, the type of water and conditions that they look for from the tower, and the different behavior fish exhibit during their migration into New England waters in the early summer. Some of the stories that these guys share are amazing. They talk about what they have found in fish's stomachs, sticking big fish right off the beach in shallow water, and much more. This podcast was truly awesome. Joe and Mike are hilarious and share a lot of information with us, and we hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we did. Without further ado, please welcome to the podcast Captain Joe Dion and Mike Miller. Welcome to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast, where we follow 3 words of wisdom. You can't catch them if you don't have a hook in the water. Always trust your instincts. And the last, you'll just have to keep listening. Stay tight.
Yep, that's the one. That's the real one. Get up there, man. All right, get that down low. All right, that real good. We doubled up. We doubled up. We doubled up. All right. Am I coming off or what? Get that down. Don't get on that rock.
There we go. Nice.
I like you get the green on today.
Can you hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
All right, I'm good now?
Yeah, you're not clipping out or anything.
So how was the show, boys? How was the first season of that thing?
Well, let's take a step back for one
I'm not
second.
grabbing something midair.
What are we
It's just
allowed
it
to
was a
talk
spider.
about the show?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, pretty much anything. It's more just
Because it's over, so everyone knows.
so everyone knows we won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That very cool. Very cool. So kind of anything goes, and if you determine you don't want anything to air, we can always.
We're not going to ask too many questions about that anyway.
There's a couple of we'll work our way there, but there's a couple of shots on that I've watched like 15 times since the episode
Was
aired.
it a miss or a hit?
No, a hit. They're both hits.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some good footage.
You don't miss
There's
it.
some good footage.
You guys probably learned
Ridiculous
some stuff
footage.
just from their footage, right? Just watching, like, seeing the drone shots of how you're approaching them and how they're changing. I mean, I know you guys see them in the plane, but
Yeah.
did you guys learn anything, like, watching the footage after the fact?
The only thing I learned is I was surprised by the other boats and some of the things that they do.
Yeah.
And I don't exactly want to say what that is, but some of the stuff that the other boats do shocked me compared to how well rigged we are.
Yeah.
How quickly we rig and how we do things.
Right.
Compared to how they do things, it was shocking to me.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they still do it the way they're doing it. It's just archaic.
How long have you been doing it, Mike?
This'll be probably my 50th year this year. 50 years of harpooning.
Wow.
Rod and reeling, hand lines, harpooning, pre-zapper, putting out rigs, and fishing out of hand lines. I mean, I remember when the rods came into play, the reels came into play, we had the black Senators with the star drag. And every now and then you'd meet a guy that had the star drag burnt into his hand. Because
My God.
Dude, I thought he was going to lift his hand up and it was going to be burned. They called me Star Drag.
no, that's it's been
Get a new name for it.
I'll tell you, I've spent a lot of time talking about bluefin tuna, fishing for bluefin tuna. It's like I have friends that used to come over in the middle of the winter and sit down for hours in December and January and February and talk about the upcoming season. What could we change? What could we do? What's going to happen? And the whole evolution. We used to fish with 7-strand wire out of baskets and ropes. I mean, it was a whole different experience. We used to tie 100-pound breaker string to the hand line, and we would not even be looking all of a sudden you'd hear, it sounded like a shotgun went off. The 100-pound breaker string would break, it would set the hook, and the basket would just start emptying. And, of course, you'd run over and grab the thing. It's your instinct to grab it. And
the rope burn is killer.
I mean,
you notice that all the time when a fish takes a rig, because there's a stretch in the rope, so you can hold on to it, even if it's taken off. You can hold on to it for a couple seconds, but then it's when you let go, it's that the elastic of the rope burns the crap out of your hands.
The evolution of the tuna fishery in 50 years was really incredible.
Did it start
Incredible
with
thing.
hand lining or harpooning for you?
Hand lining.
Hand lining.
Yeah, I saw my first fish probably 50 years ago and said, "Oh my God, what is that?"
I still say that.
We were getting 25 cents a pound.
Yeah.
25 cents. I mean, it was like, oh, okay. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, they were literally cat food back then. I mean, it was just, and they weren't really abundant then either. They're more abundant now, I believe, than they were back then. I think that they've recovered considerably in 50 years. We've been under a quota system for 50 years. We've been managing the fishery for 50 years. So, there wasn't much before that. Before I started, there wasn't much because they really weren't worth anything and there was no market. Nobody was flying fish to Japan 50 years ago. The seiners were the ones who started bulk fish. They'd catch 100 fish in the net. They'd put 100 fish on a plane in Japan. We'd catch one. You know what I mean? When we finally could catch...
The Japanese figured out a way how to make the market.
Yeah,
and everyone, that's what developed the market.
It seems like regardless of fishery, they're like technically always a little bit further ahead than other countries.
Well, I think what's going on too now is the fish, the market, the fishery lived with Japan and died with Japan, right? So meaning they're worth less when we can't sell every nice fish to Japan.
Yeah.
Because of the freight or the yen or whatever it is.
Yeah, the exchange rate is so bad right now.
Yeah.
Back in the late 70s, early 80s, the exchange rate was just incredible. The dollar was worth so much compared to the yen. It was worse than the fish. I mean, I don't know how it's changed so dramatically. 50 years ago, 40 years ago, we're getting more money for fish than we are today. I don't know how that's possible.
Well,
It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
the 90s were. The 90s.
The 80s and 90s were just fantastic. I mean, we were happy with one fish. You catch one fish, we were very happy.
When did you guys start?
I was 12. I think I vaguely remember you because my dad was mating a little bit for Tom. He actually made a lot of it for Tom. And then Teddy on Eastern Viking.
Yep.
You made it for Jeff a little bit.
And then Taylor and I kind of got into it through mating with Jeff DePergia, made it with Tom a little bit. We were with my dad doing our summer reading while chumming on Eastern Viking. That was kind of our intro to it. And then
Teddy. Good guy.
And
He was a Miller too, right? Teddy Miller you're talking about?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
No relation.
That's funny. I remember you guys because I used to fish with Ed Lavelle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
That must be how we know him.
And Dave Good too.
Dave,
you
yeah.
and Dave.
Right.
He was fishing more at the time, and
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how we got introduced. Actually, the first time I actually spent time with you was in Wanchese.
Oh yeah, that was a tough trip.
That was a tough trip.
We had-
It was
we had-
fun though.
Yeah,
It was fun.
that inlet, man, is just like
Insane. And we got it on a nice day.
yeah.
I
think coming in that night, it was beautiful, right?
Yeah.
It was no problem at all.
Yeah. No. And going out, it wasn't bad. I mean, it was not calm, but it wasn't
Yeah,
scary.
It wasn't standing up. The key to that inlet is you got to wait for the high tide switch. If you try to go the low tide runoff, it's like a disaster.
And
cool
there's the
place.
beauty of harpooning right there.
Always go.
Always nice. Never talk about rough weather. You're never talking about that. It's just that's what makes
the
harpooning
cool thing about Wanchese
so
though
nice.
is you leave the harbor and everyone's in a conga line, and you watch everyone turns southeast to go to the factory, they call it, and then the sun comes up and then the guy on the doghouse gives his prayers. And it's like, it's just...
It's camaraderie.
There's camaraderie. No one lies. Everyone works together on the same frequency.
It reminded me a lot of fishing in Canada.
Yes.
It was the vibe amongst the boats was very similar.
You literally got to go 15 hours north or 15 hours south to get like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You got to go back in time, essentially. Either way, you know.
That's right.
Back in
You mean it's not like up here where the guy who's hooked up, everyone else is rooting for him to lose it?
Yeah.
It's not like that?
No, it
down
never
there?
happens. Yeah. You mean you don't do that during
It's like when you
harpooning?
go harpooning, that guy out there hates you, that guy over there hates you, everyone hates you, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like some days everyone hates us.
Yeah. It's
Well,
fun.
you guys are dialed in.
Fish a lot.
Yeah.
So
Fish
competitive.
a lot.
It's very competitive, but I don't know. I think what I like about talking with you guys is you're very instinctual. Like just even watching the show. Like I've fished with you a little bit. I actually fished with you one time with Nick.
Yeah.
We fished like down in the bay in the whiting grounds one time. But whenever we talk, you're very like theory, instinctual. And I feel like that's something you can't really teach to people.
Well, you learn a lot. Being up in the tower all day and the airplane, you get to see a whole different perspective. But
Yeah.
even just being in the tower and spending 2 or 3 seasons, and it's a learning curve. I mean, if guys think they're just going to go out and throw gear on their boat and chase fish down, it's a 3-4 years of before you realize anything that's really going on. But you learn and you try to figure out the patterns, and obviously whales and eels are the way to go for like those large, medium, and small giants. But what's going on the last couple of years is there's been pogies inside, and there's slobs literally shepherding each school of pogies. Mm-hmm. From an airplane, you could see it beautifully. Like there'll be one fish, and that fish is not leaving that school until we find him and
Poke him in the back.
exactly.
Well, I'll give you a theory. I'll give you a theory. When you two and your father started doing charters for 50-inch fish, 60-inch fish, you were doing fantastic. You were very busy. You built the business on those fish. But all of a sudden, those fish became 73.
They're our
They
generation.
became 80. And that's what we're catching.
Literally, we used
I mean, that was what, 15 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
it's a totally different.
Now they're 108
We used-
inches.
Those
we-
fish that
we
you
used to-
lost and let go, we're catching now.
We used
Yeah.
to go in there and down in the
Yeah.
fishing ledge. I remember catching 9 in one day on the troll.
Yeah.
Like down
Little
inside.
tiny things.
And everyone's like, Cape Cod Bay, they're all slobs. I'm like, yeah, they used
Not
to
true.
be.
Right.
They used to be herds of peanuts in there. We call them peanuts because they're little babies. But
Yeah. And we'd always see him on the way after those charters on the way home, still seeing them on the 900 line of Stone Ledge and like on rain bait, virtually impossible to get to hook them
oh,
inside.
it's hard.
There's definitely some other sizes, but the biomass that we've seen are those fish. I mean, and they're even in the same
100%.
spots.
They just grew up.
100%.
They just grew up.
Nuts.
I caught a fish. I caught a fish that was tagged. It was 500 pounds, but 10 years earlier, I got a letter from the people who tagged it. It was 50 pounds when they tagged it in Virginia, and I caught it in Cape Cod Bay. 10 years later, it was 500 pounds.
Remember the one we tagged? That
Crazy.
It's like those fish you guys grew up on.
We a couple years ago we harpooned a tagged fish, and it was like a 300 dresser. It wasn't a huge fish, but the year before it was 500 pounds up in PEI because they released it. We're like, huh? That was
That's a guesstimate. That's a guesstimate.
We caught a tagged fish last year that was I actually know the captain up in Nova Scotia that released it,
no way, nice.
and he estimated it 700 and we estimated it at 900,
Big fish.
and the thing was like perfect.
Yeah.
Like hour fight, black backed, like never lost color, heavy drag, and they're pretty resilient overall. You know, I'm sure you've have some stories of seeing a fish with dart wounds, or I've heard you guys talk about the shiners and all that. It's pretty incredible when you think about
Have you
it.
guys darted a fish twice, like Jeff supposedly did?
No,
Yes.
Really?
Let's hear this one.
Actually, what happened was it didn't zap. It took
Okay.
the rig, and we saw the rig like 600 feet out. We saw the fish 600
stuck
feet
the
away.
same fish.
And we just
Okay.
drove parallel to the rig. We could see it in the water. We just drove parallel to
every
it.
time-
and stuck it again.
No
every time,
way.
Every
Yeah.
time
That
you
is
have a
sick.
every time you have a rig out, you're basically paying you're driving up on it. So if there's you take the boat angle here and the fish angle, and you're just you're driving to the fish, and he'll be swimming along, and you're basically he's on the wheel, I'm pulling the fish in. Remember the one we plugged back in?
Yeah.
That was the best fish we've ever caught. Like,
Really?
Yeah, you can do that too. So if they don't zap, you can pull the cable back, get the plug it back in, and re-zap them again. Sometimes it'll work the second time.
that fish was crazy. So it was a line of 3. There was a big fat one to the right, and I bring him to the right. We hit that fish, and it should have died. Like, it was a perfect shot. I'm like, that thing went right in his back. I'm saying, hit him, and then he's taking the rig. So I'm like, what you doing? Hit him. And I thought, like, I thought he wasn't even on the button, you know?
Yeah.
Takes the rig. He's like, I was on it. So I go back and I re-rig, and I go down into the cabin and I check the zapper, and the battery connection came undone. So
Oh my God.
it was actually
It wasn't zapping.
it wasn't zapping. So we fixed the zapper. Fish, another bunch comes up. We kill like a 80-incher, and that rig was towing along nice. So we drove up on him, pulled him back in, re-plugged him in, hit the button, and I'm like, I remember just being like, I'm gonna take it easy on it, because a lot of times I just yank him, and if we pull the dart, we pull the dart, because especially if we're working with a plane, because we just want to go. Yeah, time. So I'm taking this one pretty easy, and I'm pulling him up nice, and the tail comes up. We load him, and I was like, that thing's a blimp. It was just a beautiful looking fish, and that fish we actually got $36 a pound for.
No shit.
And the one next to it was like 4.
Probably 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
So weird how there's just a random fish that gets good money.
Yeah, he was just swimming along with like 2. He was noticeably fatter. Like,
Yeah.
like it was a 3 fish. We call them a line. So like, if there's lines of soldiers, but they basically swimming along and they're next to each other. We call it like I said. So that fish was to the right, and when you want to pick one off on either side if you can, but it really depends on how the bunch is.
What's your preferred shape?
A line.
A line?
Yeah.
A line with a distinct direction. Either the one on the far left is a little forward of the rest, and they're all in
And
kind
I
of,
see it the best.
you know what I mean? Like, or the
He
Or the
thinks
other
he
way.
sees, even though he's 30 feet behind me.
He has eyes at the back of his head like our dad.
I might see him before he sees them, but when we get close.
I have the best.
Actually, what happens is that when I have to, his body blocks me from the fish. So the fish he's picked.
Those broad shoulders.
So
guy.
the way I know we're going to get it is I just keep going and going. All of a
gotta
sudden, the
take it
thing
easy.
starts going from his head down his body, and when it's about at his feet, that's when he throws. So that's how I gauge it. You know, that's the way it always goes.
And the bigger fish inside, well, the water colors everything. So if you're out in the blue water, you're not going to get close. And you're going to get close, but you got to, like, especially if they're up high in blue water, just launch it, because the chances are they're going to freak
You're
out.
gonna spook.
But inside, what we've seen the last couple of years is these pogie fish are
Or
just
you get
numb.
right on them.
They're numb. I mean, like, you just wait. If you think you're ready to throw, wait a little longer and then launch it.
That's sick.
But the formations, that's a great question. When they're lined up, they're called soldiers. And then sometimes they're in a ball. They're like just balled up all together, and they're just
Sometimes
swapping places. And they're real tight.
rolling over each
Yeah,
other,
they're
doing
rolling
this
over each
stuff.
other,
Bumping
and they're in
into
a
each
ball.
other.
Sometimes they're fins and tails out of the water, and they're going in straight lines, and you see 10, 20 of them all fins and tails out of the water. And the formations, there's never 2 formations the same. You know,
Yeah.
there's never the same amount of fish in each bunch. It's always different.
That first day last year, I was fortunate enough to be out there next to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And that was insane, first off. But we saw like every formation in that 2 hour, whatever hour, I lost track of time.
Yeah.
But in that window, it was like, oh, there's a single 800-pounder, there's a line, there's smasher. Like, we saw like 60 inches smashing.
Yeah.
And then like, there'd just be like a herd mass moving. It didn't matter. It's like, just get him close. And,
You ever see mackerel on the surface?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're the
Same thing.
Same
They're big
thing.
mackerel.
Tuna's a mackerel, mackerel's a tuna.
That's
Like,
it.
Yeah.
What do you think they're doing when they're in a line? Do you think they're hunting? Or
They're
you think
digesting.
And then when they're in a ball, what do you think they're doing?
They're
Same.
migrating.
Same.
just-
When they're up high, they're
They're
digesting.
moving long distance, you think, when they're in a line?
Yeah, I mean, when they're brunched up, they're migrating, but they're always moving and hunting.
Weird how they like decide what they want to do.
There's
like
so many,
birds.
There's so many theories
You know?
about this stuff. Nobody knows. Like, one of the most fascinating things I find about tuna fish is when you have a bunch of fish, maybe it's 10, and they all go off and feed. And then all of a sudden, they get back together again. It's like they texted each other, I'll meet you here at friggin' 1, and we'll get up on top and we'll start running. I don't know how they do that. They must stay within some kind of distance from each other where they know where they all are and they keep in touch
Way of
somehow.
communicating.
We've seen it.
The theory is when they're full, when their bodies are so full of food that they come up from the depths, I believe they come up to relieve the pressure from the depths on their body.
Mm-hmm.
They come up into the warmer water where the sun is, and they just relax and digest their food.
And especially that time of year too, right?
Yes,
It's
because it's really cold down below.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So the higher they are, the warmer it is.
So those of you listening that don't understand the time frame of harpooning, can you explain like June to July and
It's-
kind of how it all evolves with them coming in, what you see when they get settled, and then when your quota's full or they stop showing essentially?
Yeah, I mean, they're migrating, right? So they show up, and the water temperature is everything. So if it's anywhere between 51 to 58, and then when they start to show up, the 52, right around there, they'll show, and a lot of years it's not even until the middle to end of June.
Yeah.
I mean, the last couple of years they've been here and it's been lights out June 1st, but
Right.
that's not normal. I mean, there's some years where it's not even till July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been years where your birthday is mid to the end of June and we don't have a fish till then. But as they show, it gets better and better and better, and then the water temperature heats up. And as soon as that water gets close to 70, it's like, ooh, they just don't run up to the surface anymore. They might be running, but they could be 30 feet down.
Yeah.
They're just not in that prime temperature.
Makes sense.
So that can happen. It all depends too. If we have a really hot summer with no wind, it could be slow, you know.
Yeah.
It could be over quicker.
Yep.
In the old general category days when you could get one a day, never even put a rod and reel in the boat until after Labor Day. The towels and pulpits would go on June 1st. They'd stay on until Labor Day weekend. Then they'd come off Labor Day weekend. The rods and reels would go on the boat and you'd change over. You'd never even try to catch them in June, July, or August. Never even tried.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was.
You'd be trolling.
And
there was guys
what-
trying. They were just
in
trolling out east.
Yeah.
In
I mean, I remember going out with, I was 7 years old, so that was still 32 years ago. Even though you've been doing it. I caught one.
I love it.
I caught one out of Wildcat, and we were trolling squid bars. It was a keeper, nice fish, you know, and that's when there were plenty of guys doing it out in June. Murray Brothers.
Yeah.
You know, there was legend trawlers.
Yeah.
But they never really fished inside. It was always out east.
We've had a few good days in June out there trolling.
Yeah.
It's a rat. It's you know,
find the
needle in
squid.
a haystack. You know, if you can find them, you can have a quick, good couple hours. But
It's so weird out there, though. It's like you'll see just jumpers, you know, and then they're there. I mean, when you see them in the plane, it's really you get to see the way I like to describe it is flocks of geese, right? So like if you ever see in the spring the Canadian geese are migrating south, that's what it looks like more in the plane. So you'll be flying along and you'll see like, oh, there's a line, or there's a group of 6, or there's a single. Yeah, and the same thing like you see in birds flying by all day.
Yeah.
And we'll chase these fish, you know, like that's the cool thing about harpooning. I could tell you exactly where I was yesterday because it doesn't matter at all tomorrow.
yeah.
We could be 30 miles away from that spot.
Yeah.
And they just migrate. You know, they're out east. It's like a highway, and they're moving along, and you can move 10 miles the next day or 15 miles, which is totally different than inside. The inside fishery is great. I mean, they're all big fish. They're easier to get. I'd say, when you get the chance, when you get one running. But it's hard to put big numbers up. So, like, if you're just hunting pogies inside and you're staying inside Stellwagen, you'll never have those big years. You'll just have, like, a dozen fish or, it's just not enough there. You got to go out east, and then there's herds of them.
It's a bigger highway.
Bigger highway.
Yeah. Yep.
What's the furthest you followed fish in a day?
I follow one bunch. We followed one bunch 19 miles.
Oh, shit.
One group of fish, 19 miles. We plucked one. We got one out of the first shot. It was like an 80. And then that bunch was at Highland Light, like, the golf ball. Mm-hmm. And we ended up at the 500 line with that bunch.
Wow.
It was in the pilot, Doug was flying for us. And we kept on being like, we see him, like, just go find different fish. But, like, it was just a massive bunch that was just chugging to the east. And it's amazing to think, like, that same bunch, who knows where, like, that was just in 3 hours. It made it 19 miles. So, like, who knows where they ended up.
It's crazy.
I forget where I heard it, but there was a tagged fish that was tagged on the southwest corner, swam to Franklin Swell, which is almost at George's Bank. Mm-hmm. You guys might know this.
Someone told us this, actually. Who was it?
Turned around.
I think he's actually told it to me.
Turned around and was back on the bank the next morning. Like, that's 50 miles east.
Right.
And then turned around.
50 miles back.
Came back.
But, I mean, it's 8 hours.
Yeah.
It's like...
That's crazy.
It's 8 hours.
Do you think there's
That's
fish
nothing
that, like...
for them.
I think there's fish that are just constantly migrating, and then there's fish that settle in. Yeah. So, like, these ones that you're chasing, do you think they're all, like, migrating? Oh, the ones out east, they're just all migrating fish, and all the ones on the bank and inshore are, like, settled?
They're residents. Yeah, the ones in the bay, the ones in the inside, they're all just residents. They come here every year. They stay the whole entire summer, and then when it's time to go, they
And
go.
when they first show, that's when they show. When they first show up, that's when they're on the surface. And then they'll find whiting, or I don't know. They go deep and we can't see them.
I remember one time we were out 100 miles east of Green Harbor, and there had to be 10 boats, all from Green Harbor. 10 harpoon boats, all from Green Harbor. And we all went out. We knew the fish were out there. And they were all acting like pogies, swimming in a circle. You couldn't get near them because they were all just going around in a circle. And we're going, what is going on here? Why can't we? And all of a sudden, we saw 3 orcas. And the orcas were out there feeding on the tuna fish. So they were acting just like pogies.
Oh, my
bluefin,
God.
anything else. They were just circling and keeping an eye on everything around them. And we ended up going like 15 knots with a guy in the stand and just winging a shot, and we got one. We weren't aiming at a particular fish. We just got lucky and hit
Just lobbed it in there.
But we saw 3 orcas. I mean, that was one of the coolest experiences I'd ever had around here.
That's awesome.
But I mean,
That's incredible.
The orcas.
That was out of caches, wasn't it?
There's stories in the 70s of orcas going into P-Town Harbor and just eating the tuna fish and
The whole
Turning the
harbor.
water red.
red. Yeah, there's stories
Amazing,
about that.
right?
I mean,
My father and I, what was it, 3 years ago when we had 3 years ago, we had like a 2-week shot of little fish on the bank. It was like lights out, trolling, casting guys, all that. And the last good day, it was like dying northwest, and it didn't die out as quick as we anticipated. It was fine for a charter, but it was like, I was pumped at the conditions, but it was snotty. And I think we trolled 2. And then we made our way like kind of the southeast corner. We were working our way back to the west edge. And there was a ball of life that had 60-inch tunas in it that were getting starbursted. And we didn't see the whole whale, but you can't mistake that dorsal fin. That dorsal fin was right in the middle
That's
of them.
awesome.
And then it just like fizzled out. It was like a pokey ball slick that had just been
like tuna
attacked
fish.
by tunas. That's what it
crazy.
looked like.
So you've seen it
afterwards.
too.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. Incredible animal. I mean, there's usually reports of them like at the head of the migration every year, like off Chatham, May time, Mother's Day weekend, Memorial Day weekend time. But I've never seen what you've seen. That's pretty incredible.
yeah, that was 100 miles east, though. I mean, that's out there.
What's What's the biggest fish that each of you have harpooned?
I don't know. There was one that was close to 700 crest.
Yeah, I'd say
That's a big one.
That's it. Yeah.
900,000 pounder.
I got one rod and reel on Stone Ledge that was 1,075.
That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. We thought we foul hooked it. It took us 4 hours to get them, and we thought we foul hooked it. We didn't know what was going on. And when we finally got it, we said, "We're not getting that fish in the boat."
Was it on the line?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you.
No, but I got one. I got one 2 years ago. The whole weight was 888 on the
Lund.
On the Lund.
On
The 18
aluminum.
the 18 by myself.
Yes.
By myself.
One rod.
That's an official
No, I had there were
Nantucket
3
slinger.
rods on the board.
You had 3 rods.
Yeah,
on
I always fished 3. Joey always he was real worried. He says because I fish all 3 off one side. And he said, "What if you got a triple hookup, Mike?"
There you go.
And they all went under the boat.
That
So
would
it just-
definitely
they all-
get us
apart.
and they all went under the
bow
boat.
and the stern just detach.
He always, Mike, will it flip your boat? Will it flip your boat? I go, that's what drags are for. I mean, I keep everything at 45 pounds.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
that's
It's
the worst
45
is
pounds.
he's dragging this fish in, right? So he's up off a stone ledge. It's
We'll
like,
put a picture up on this, by the way.
Yeah.
he he catches the fish. He lands it. Finally lands it. Our buddy Chuck helps him. And
Chuck V?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know Chucky.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome guy.
Awesome.
And then we're all worried about him because now he's driving this goddamn fish in. It's like September. It's 9:30, 10 at night, pitch black. He's in an 18-foot boat, no radar. He's like, I see the green flasher. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it was a nice night. I mean, it was.
I feel like I've encountered you like at least a dozen times when you should have had a radar in the river.
yeah.
But that's the river. It's you could just.
He's got a built-in rig.
Oh yeah,
at
you're
this
good.
point.
You got
Yeah.
a metal boat.
You know?
You're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now a few times in the fog, like you just hear some boat come out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, there's Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you are a savage for doing it for 50 plus years and you're fishing by yourself on an aluminum skiff is pretty awesome.
Well, you know,
A bass boat.
I'll tell you, I did learn. I did learn, and every
Not
Do you have carpet? Is there carpet
Let's-
in that boat?
This is a smallmouth bass boat.
No, I mean, I have learned. It's you'd think you'd feel safer the more you boat. No. The more every time I set foot on that dock, I say to myself, okay, be very, very careful. Last year, I broke a rod, and I had the fish right there. It was maybe 20 feet down, and the rod broke. And I was pushing the rod away from the boat, the line away from the boat, and the rod broke, and I almost went overboard as the rod broke. You know what I mean? Wow. And I'm by myself, and no one could see me. I mean,
Well, you look like driftwood.
but that's what
He is the color
That's
of
right.
driftwood. He's
Some
like a
guys,
nice
some of the big sport
patina
boats come
piece of
over thinking
driftwood.
there's going to be mahi around me.
At least paint the boat.
I need
A
that.
piece of
I need
driftwood
that
to
beer.
come over, you know.
At least paint the boat pink or something so people
beer.
see it.
That's funny.
What?
That's too funny. What is, now that we're on the topic of some scary stuff, what's the scariest thing you've experienced harpooning?
Lightning storms.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightning.
On lightning.
Yeah, on lightning.
We've had some pretty nasty storms because you're out east and like you know that's building and then the pilots will be
And it's
freaked
those
out.
early summer months.
Oh yeah.
Shit screams across from the west like quick.
We've chased like I think we went full speed about 15 miles north one day.
To get around the storm.
We tried to track it. It was coming straight from Boston. It looked like it was going more southeast right at us. And that the electricity storms on a
With a
harpoon boat
Yeah.
that's made of aluminum isn't really safe.
And these boats aren't really designed to have a tower way up there and a pulpit. These 32 Hollands, we fished a
It's
couple
all
of them now.
electricity. It's all
Yeah.
We were
It's a
coming in.
conductor.
magnet for electricity.
We were coming in one day. This was just a couple of years ago, and there were 3 of us in the tower. And I don't know what happened. We hit a wake or something, and the boat, the tower, we could almost touch the water. We rolled that far.
Well, I'm
and then
always
the
on
boat
the
whipped
shifter
back.
side. Yeah.
The boat whipped back up in the air, and we looked at each other. I'm like, it's a miracle we didn't get thrown out of the tower. It's just an absolute.
catapulted
That had to be
back to Green
That
Harbor.
was probably the scariest thing that ever happened.
Yeah, that's terrible. That's
That
not funny.
we could have touched the water. I think I could have went like, woo.
Yeah, we were so close to just completely flipping the boat. It was scary. I mean, it was scary.
Those
'Cause
those Hollands are tough.
It's a canoe.
it's
Yeah,
a canoe.
The
Love
32
that
canoe.
hull.
It is the sneakiest hull in all of the
And
used to
ocean.
they're
troll
very
fish
fuel
like
efficient.
nothing
They're
else.
very fast.
Yeah.
Everything about them is perfect for harpooner, except
Out
if you
east, though, you could say that out east they're not as good because they tend to flop more. So like
the
a
swell?
yeah. So when you get in that heave out east or the swell, a 35 Duffy or the boat I'm building this year, 34 South Shore, will hopefully be a little better because it won't porpoise as much. Because when
South Shore is kind of like a Holland Calvin sort of hybrid hull,
Yeah.
isn't it?
yeah,
It's like a little beamier,
little
but it
beamier,
still has that sharper entry.
yes, should be good. I'm
That's gonna be a
excited.
nice boat.
It should be.
Yeah.
They're fast. I mean, like every South Shore I've looked at is like a 22 knot cruise with like 400 horsepower,
Yeah.
350, 400. So like we're putting 600 in this thing, and it's gonna be
You'll be able to get to Georgia's pretty quick.
and we got fuel too. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be nice.
Yeah. What was your first harpoon boat, Mike?
I converted a 28-foot aqua sport into a harpoon boat, and now it's called the Out of Bounds.
No shit. That really?
That was his boat.
Phil
No
bought it for
shit.
me. Phil still has the pulpit for it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was the first one, and then I had a 35 Bruno. But I used to fish on a boat called the Sand Dollar. That was a long time ago. But it's just you asked that. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened? I could tell an embarrassing story because I don't care anymore.
No, nothing
I'm at a point
matters.
where I don't care about.
You're
it anymore.
confident in yourself.
So, my wife and I don't know, we weren't married at the time. I had a wood boat, a 26-foot pacemaker. There was a boat in the harbor called the 804 that was a 44-foot pacemaker. They used to, Paul Legier's.
It was over at the Bridgeway, right?
Yeah, no, he was in Green Harbor.
It was
he was
when-
probably
At one
always
point,
over in
right?
Bridgeway.
When they
in a
hauled it.
bar or something.
No. The 804 was after Paul passed. Was sat over by the Bridgeway for like 6 years.
Yeah.
So I had the 26-foot pacemaker. It was wood. We had a paper chart recorder. So, I mean, it would mark with a little stylus. It would mark on the machine the depth and what was under the boat. It wasn't like a current modern day depth sounder. And we had a compass.
Shooting
So my wife and I set out for the northwest corner. And it is foggy. So we got to go 22 miles, compass only, and chart plotter.
Yep.
We never found it. We never found the northwest corner. So we're driving around aimlessly in the fog. We're completely lost. And I was probably 20, 22 years old at the time. So I said, we better just turn around and point home. So I started hearing a beach, and I started hearing waves breaking and people on the beach. I go, man, we must have landed like up in Cohasset or something. So we just got to go kind of to the left and follow it down to Green Harbor. So I followed it left. The fog lifted. We were down to Nauset. So what we hit was Race Point. So, and I thought we hit Cohasset. So now I'm
This is taking longer than we thought.
now I'm almost out of fuel. And I'm like, well, I have no options. So I go over to a guy in a little boat and I go, is that a harbor over there? He goes, yeah, but I don't know if you can get in there. I go, well, I'm almost out of fuel. I got to go in there. He goes, will you follow me? So it's like the entrance to Wanchese. There's 3 rolling waves. He says, don't look back and just keep going. So we get in. We pull up to the harbor master's dock. We tie up, and it was late. It was late, it was late enough where he said you could stay for the night. Well, of course, the marina reported us missing. We never returned from the trip. So we didn't know that. The harbor master comes in the morning, turns his radio on. There's all kinds of distress warnings on they're looking for us on the radio. The Coast Guard put out a lookout for us. My wife and I are looking at each other going, oh boy, what did we get ourselves into? Meanwhile, we got fuel in the boat, and we called everybody, said, we're okay. This is where we are. and we're coming back. We're coming home, so we're all right. But we didn't know until the next morning, until the harbor master turned on his radio.
Oh my
It
god.
was all over the radio that we were missing.
Have you ever seen a 35-foot wave?
A 35-foot wave. Actually,
Not in a little
not
boat.
in a small boat, but in a ship. I have.
ship, yeah.
I was on Thunder and saw him.
No shit.
We were coming down, so I moved. My father and I have a 38-foot old Carolina boat,
Beautiful
plank
boat.
on frame, wood boat, built in 1962. So there were a lot of work, and we had to bring it down to Wanchese to get it refurbished, like back in 2017, 18. And I'm running the boat south, and there was hurricanes. We went in between hurricanes, in between them. So it wasn't like, it was beautiful. It was flat ass, like offshore. But you could see there was a heave. There was like a big, giant roll. And they were the biggest waves I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was nuts. And we didn't go through Wanchese. We went through Bulford Inlet, which is further south. And when we turned Cape Lookout, and mind you, the boat was in rough shape. We caught on fire. I had to put out a fire. I had a fuel leak the whole time that I had to keep on tightening, and I was only going 8 knots. So it took us 62 hours with one fuel stop at Ocean City. And
62 hours?
yeah.
Julie's put a rod out.
Yeah, I mean, it was brutal. So I planned to get fuel at Ocean City because whatever, it was like halfway. And then when we come around Cape Lookout, I just remember like it was middle of the night. I thought about going to Wanchese, and I was hearing maydays and pom-poms and on the. I'm like, nah, there's like something's going on. And when I turned the next morning, coming around Cape Lookout, the waves were just the biggest things I've ever seen in my life. They were breaking, and then Bulford Inlet's deep, so we were fine. So those inlets down there, it's the shallow inlets that get you. If they're big 50, 60-foot deep inlets, it's
you're
all
good.
good, yeah. So the next 3 months later, I'm on a plane, and I'm talking to some guy, and 2 people died that night in two different events trying to get in inlets.
No shit.
And I was out there. It was crazy. And
That's fucking.
thank God Bulford Inlet was like deep.
Yeah.
So it was safe. But like
Yeah.
that was, I remember looking at that, and my father was with me. I'm running the boat, and I'm like, if Bulford looks like that, we can't get in.
Yeah.
It's just, we're done. Like they looked like Hawaii. That's the best way to describe it. They looked like Hawaii. And we're making the turn, and there's red nuns that we have to go around, so you can see the backs of them. You know what I mean? And they were just like mountains. It was nuts.
Christ. That's big in a little boat like that.
And I'm going. Well, the worst part was we didn't see a boat for a whole day. So we're like, what are
How
we?
could you? The waves were so high. The waves are so high.
We're like, what are we? And the scariest thing down there is once you go south of Norfolk, the next safe inlet is Rudy's a little deep, but it will still break. Rudy Inlet, which is Virginia Beach, and you got to go all the way to Bulford Inlet, which is like 160 miles. It's crazy. It's like going from Boothbay Harbor to here, without having a choice to go in. That's what makes it crazy down there.
Yeah, it's a logistical nightmare.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's intense.
That was probably the scariest. The most scared I've been.
I would be.
This camera does that again. We'll just pop their mics.
Pop the mics out, okay. Back to you two guys. So we've talked a bit about how you got into it, when you got into it, what you've seen. I know we can go. We'll be telling more stories, but how did you two get to fish together for the first time?
I grew up down the street from him.
It's one of the worst experiences of my life.
What was it like? You fished with Joe, or did Joe go with you?
Joe is to this day a dock rat.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a dock rat. I mean, he is so good with boats. I trust him more than anybody to rebuild and recondition a boat. And
thank you, Mike.
If I'm on the water, I feel safer with him than most anybody. But he's a dock rat. When he was a little kid, he wanted to go. Finally, I said to his father, can we take him today? So we took him harpooning. We had the airplane for the day, and we took him harpooning. Sorry, Joe. That was it. Joe was hooked from that day on.
Did you get him that day?
We got him, yeah.
Paul,
we got him.
Paul, Marky was flying for us. Mark,
No shit.
the same pilot that flies for us now.
And he's probably been flying for 40 years, too.
The dream team started then.
So Joe was probably 10. You were probably 10?
Yeah, just around.
7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And
Wow.
and he came along with me, and then,
We were down at the BC buoy.
Yeah.
Crab Ledge.
yeah. And
Crazy.
Were you throwing on that trip? Were you
no,
driving?
my buddy Paul was, I think. Right?
Yeah.
It was,
'Cause
yeah. So,
When did you stop throwing?
I didn't really throw much.
Okay.
Well, I've got some fish throwing, but I
Yeah.
never really did throw too much. I'll tell you.
if I'm having a real bad day, I'll send him out.
Yeah. You don't want to be the thrower because
You don't.
if
the
you're
pressure
missing,
must be
if you're
brutal.
missing, I mean, I'm pretty tolerant to people missing. I mean, I've seen more holes put in the ocean than probably anybody in the tuna fishery. I took him when he was, he missed a lot, a couple of years he spent missing. When he got his boat, when he bought the Lightning, his Holland, and he said to me, he says, Mike, will you teach me everything you know? And I did. And I watched him miss a lot. And I just, okay. And everyone, quite a few people I went with missed a lot. They learned. They had to learn. You got to learn.
Do you have a cadence to get yourself like ready, or are you just in the moment? Depends on what the fish are doing.
Don't think.
Yeah, you just
You think too
aim
much,
for
it's
the
over.
biggest, widest part of the fish.
Well, no,
just
but
throw
hold
the
on.
Hit him in the fish.
Yeah, it's just
Hold on.
The SeaBros Fishing Podcast is brought to you by Monaghan's Marine. Monaghan's has been serving South Shore boaters since 1961. Located in Weymouth, Massachusetts, Monaghan's is a Jones Brothers, Tidewater, Invincible, and Onslow Bay boats retailer. They also have the most well-stocked inventory of Yamaha outboards, parts, and rigging throughout the state. The entire staff and crew of technicians have decades of experience. As a recent addition, Monaghan's has built and rigged out a brand new 4,000 square foot offshore and inshore tackle shop. They are fully stocked with everything needed for offshore canyon fishing, nearshore bluefin tuna fishing, striped bass fishing, surf fishing, and more. For decades, the crew at Monaghan's has been helping generations of boat owners with outboard parts, boat service, marine equipment, and fishing tackle. Their professionalism and passion for being on the water has made them one of the most reputable boating headquarters in the Northeast. As a part of this partnership, Monaghan's Marine is offering all listeners to our podcast a discount on anything in their store. When shopping at Monaghan's, if you mention this podcast or use promo code MBG25 at checkout at the register, you'll receive 10% off any purchase in their tackle or marine department. To learn more about Monaghan's Marine, their location, boat and engine inventory, or parts, visit monaghansmarine.com.
Anyone can learn how to hit a paper plate off the end of a dock or off the end of a pulpit sitting on a boat that's not moving without a freely swimming tuna fish in front of them. The art is when to throw.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, aim. You'll learn that when they turn, you'll throw over their back. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
I'm a lefty, so if they turn right, I have a hard time hitting them. If they turn left, I have a good chance of hitting them because they're turning into my throw.
Yeah. It's like hockey. Like you have a better shot when you're inside. Yeah.
Totally. So like I'll get mad if you hear me getting mad at him on the show. It's because I want the fish in a certain spot, and we get it early in the season. We're always a dumpster fire. I mean, everyone is. It's a joke. You haven't done it in a year.
Yeah.
But then towards
knock the rust off.
yeah, especially this past year, I hadn't done it in like 3 years. So.
I saw the steam blowing out of your ears a couple times.
Yeah, but there was.
I believe I said to you, I'm like, you're just gonna get on a roll and start smoking them, and then
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened.
Compared to most of the other boats, it was nothing. Someone looking from the outside in, as far as like you guys bickering at each other about. It's not even bickering. It was like I wanted this. This happened.
We got to talk. We got to.
You know?
I always say to him too. It's like, so I'm way out in the front. you can't hear me unless I'm yelling.
Yeah.
So now you put a camera there. Now you have a mic. I'm yelling just so I can get my point across, and I'm not mad. I'm
Yeah,
yelling.
you just have to yell.
He's far away. I mean, he's far away.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
There's been a few times with Jeff. I look at Johnny or whoever's with me, us in the tower, whoever's in the tower. I'm like, is he pissed? You literally can't hear each other.
It's always the wheelman's fault.
Yeah.
Always.
When the thrower-
Always.
And you can never yell at the thrower for missing.
No.
Because you can't demoralize them.
No,
Because
no.
They literally, if you yell at a guy throwing, you know what they're going to say? First words out of their mouth? Then you come down here and throw.
Always, yeah, I could see that.
That's
the
exactly-
best.
And then I just say, no, don't worry. You keep doing your
We
thing.
pretty much do that in
You're
the
all right.
cockpit too. It's all the same in the cockpit. If someone misses, it's like, all right, you throw it next time.
Yeah.
I love Mark, and I talk to Mark. He's a real good friend of mine, and if you miss with him and he's flying for you, he'll let you know, and he's very
You could
hard.
hear. You could. I mean, the show, edits and does what they need to do, but they definitely get that across.
This year. So we had 3 that day, so it was a good day, but we should have had 5.
Yeah. Yeah. If we got half the fish he missed, we'd have had over 20.
So, anyways, we were doing fine that morning. We hit 2 pretty quick, and then there was one that was on pogies, and my instincts were saying wait, and because he just was numb, the thing wasn't gonna move, and he did this one little stupid tail kick, and it forced me to whip it, and I missed. So I go, ugh, and I miss it. So it was fine. He says, dude, he was in the plane saying, I would have waited too. I would have waited too. Like, we all would have waited. Weber would have waited. Everyone would have waited. But he did this one stupid little tail kick, and it forced me to throw harder than I should have just laid it in there. 2 seconds later, there's a slob running, and I whiffed because it was in my head from the 2 seconds before that, right? So Mark's on me, and he goes, Jesus Christ, that tuna fish wanted to die. He was just laying there, and Joey let him swim away, right? And I'm hearing him, I'm going, oh, shit. I wouldn't go in the tower. And these 2 guys, they're talking to each other, right? So I hear him, he's ragging me, and I'm sitting on the roof. I'm just going like this. I'm like so mad. I wouldn't move. And he goes to Mark, he goes, I'd make fun of him too, but he can punch me. He can't punch me. You're in the plane.
I just keep my mouth shut.
He can't
Because I know he's just as mad as I am. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you talk about the behavior of the fish earlier. Mm-hmm. Like, when the fish first show up, they don't swim in straight lines. They're going all over the place. They're swimming in every direction. The first fish we got last year, the whole bunch turned and came right at us. And we got a head-on shot, which was pretty rare that early in the season, and we got it. But they don't go in a straight line. As they settle in and as the month goes along, as June goes along, early July, they start to straighten out. And when they straighten out and they're running nice and clean, it's so much easier for me as the wheelman. But when they're in pogies, they're going around in circles, and you can't do what they're doing. You just got to wait for them to come around, whether they're going clockwise or counterclockwise around the pogies. You kind of sit at the edge of the pogies. You put his feet right at the edge of the pogies and wait for that fish to come around, and then you hope you get a shot. And the pogies are a new thing. The last 3-4 years, the pogies are here. They weren't here.
So you're talking about like shepherding schools, and we've nerded out about this and talk about what we think and how they behave on different bait and whatever. How far either in the plane or in the tower do you see them pulling off that school? Like, they're still tending it, but like, what's the furthest distance you see them come on?
Two examples that were on the show. One was the one I saw.
That was
So that was all real. I mean, I figured it was real.
On
but
my
like,
kids,
TV's stuff.
There was one
was
school
all
of pogies, like it was west of the green flasher, like towards just past where the houses ended on Duxbury Beach, and we were out. It was a blow day. He was out bass fishing, and they wanted to film me in the plane. So I'm like, okay, we'll go up and fly around in the plane. So we go out, we mess around, and then on the way back, I'm setting up to land. And I see this pogie, so I kind of take a look, and then I'm like, oh, there's a fish in it. So I do 2 circles around the pogies. It's surer than anything. It's a fish swimming around. So I instantly land. Nate, the other part of that day for filming was, Nate wouldn't have been at the boat, but we were supposed to do the flying thing and then a boat tour. So we had 2 things scheduled that day to film. So the boat tour was like when you talk about the transmission and all that stuff. So it just so happened Nate was there. So it was like everything was perfect. 15 minutes after I saw that fish, I was steaming out of the harbor and found that same school of pogies. And within like 20 minutes, it took me a minute, but like he was there. You know, it's a big school of pogies, and we got him.
We didn't believe him. Yeah. Me and Mark were on the radio going, I don't believe him. Do you, Mark? And Mark's going, no, he didn't. No way he got a fish. There's no way he got a fish.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it. We were rolling up on him, and then a minke came, and the fish and the minke kind of like went cross paths, and Nate lost him for a sec. I still had the fish. I go, and I just told him to keep going, and I had him, and yeah, then when we're rolling up on him, I'm like, I'm gonna kill this fish. I just saw him in the plane.
That's insane.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
Is there any specific type of life? I mean, we talked about whales, minkies, humpbacks, pogies, but is there some specific type of life that you see in the tower? You're like, we have a good shot, or is it?
No, we would both say the same thing. I know what I'd say.
What's that?
If there's shearwaters, there's fish.
Yeah.
Shearwaters. But as far as bait,
Shearwaters is the single best indication.
Bait goes for that Chatham thing with the eels. And that can move up to this Peaked Hill. That could be on the backside
I
of the
saw
bank.
bits and pieces of it last year.
Yeah. But that sand eel show with the whales, I mean, that's the perfect.
Yeah.
They seem to run, they'll be in bigger groups, and they'll just be they'll be running around those schools of sand eels.
Zip in between.
Yeah.
Like a little pod with a whale, they're there. A little pod with a whale, they're there.
Yeah. And you can stay on those fish and you can do some damage. And that's
Are there any schools of bait that you feel like you need the plane to find them? Or is it kind of all different depending on how the fish
Well,
are?
it seems to me that the closer you are to shore, to inside, the bigger the fish. And the bigger the fish, they're in the pogies. They're in the bluefish. Mm-hmm. They're inside. So the further you go towards the bank, the smaller the fish get. Eventually they get into the mackerel, and they're 90-inch fish instead of 110-inch fish.
Remember that bunch that was black?
Yeah. And then you get out even further, and they're 75-inch fish in sand hills. You know what I mean? So the further you go east, it seems like sometimes the smaller
We had
fish
it.
are.
It just you just made me think of one day last year. Like we lost it. We pulled the dart on this fish, but we were in small fish all day, and I was getting aggravated. You're aggravated.
Yeah,
Mark's
Mark was getting aggravated.
We're all aggravated. We're like, what are we doing here? Let's go find a better spot. And there was bunch after bunch of small fish. So we're going, checking them out. No good. And all of a sudden, this group pops up. He sees it in the tower, and they're huge. And we were just looking at real small ones. So they looked like 7,000-pound tuna, and they were probably like 90 inches. But like he was like, they're the biggest fish I've ever seen. And I'm like,
well, they're in the blue water, you know.
yeah.
So they just.
But they were the coolest thing is they had just come up. So like these fish must have been migrating and like just popped up because they were black as this.
Huh. Interesting.
It was the craziest thing. Like they were black tuna fish.
Yeah.
Taylor,
And
We were
what happened?
trolling.
And what
we were
happened?
trolling.
Yeah.
It was like that.
We pulled the dart.
Yeah, we missed.
What are you talking about?
You missed.
We pulled the dart. The
Yeah,
whole
okay,
rig
that
went out.
counts as
I
a
love
hit,
this
I
right
guess.
now.
Yeah, that's a hit.
He hit one.
There
Oh
was
yeah,
meat on
he
it.
hit one. He hit one, and he said, "I hit it." He bent the shank. He didn't even hit it. At least the rig.
Well, I
went out.
hit it.
I don't know what.
What?
That
I
was
didn't,
like-
we missed it. I didn't miss it.
So what happens when the dart
Yeah,
pulls
that's
away from the
You
fish?
hit it. You didn't completely miss it. That's all.
I should have plugged that thing.
Yes.
It was just how the day went. I always say it like this: if the day starts messed up, it's going to end messed up. A good day always starts good. That day, it was just a nightmare from the beginning.
See, I agree
We've
with
hit-
that to some extent.
I don't have that
Taylor and I always say to each other, like,
situation.
you drag anchor, reset. You drag anchor, reset. You drag. We both look at each other.
Can't catch a herring.
We're like, we're catching a fucking 800-pounder today.
Yeah,
and sure as shit,
weird.
it's like we're almost the opposite. Like if something's not fucked up, then it's going to be like
Something's
you're going to rot all day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have to grind and like do that extra reset to get yourself 5 feet shallow or 5 feet deeper, it's like that's when.
Or
it
it's
all comes
beautiful. You
together.
have all the perfect baits. Your baits, the tide's nice, pulling your baits out. You're marking tons of fish. You get bit. You fight them for 2 hours and you pull the hook.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
Or like hydraulic day, same thing. Blew the line, got a new line made up, fixed it, got back out in the afternoon, hooked up right before sunset, tournament fish, 110 plus inch fish, all over the surface, pulled the hook. Like random.
Yeah.
Random hook.
Wasn't even at
That's
the time.
usually like that's how I catch fish on the rod. It's always like unintentional.
Yeah.
We would catch. Remember the one I worked on the boat till like 2:30 in the afternoon, and Webb and Charlie are out there, and I just roll in there. I'm like, hey, does anyone have a pokey? And I take a pokey, I throw it out, and like, come on.
It's awesome.
It was awesome.
That's
They've been
rod-
sitting there
that's
all
rod
day. I
reeling.
roll right in and hook up.
That's rod and reeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll
That's
drive
very
you nuts. To go back, because I love the theory stuff, but to go back to the inshore bigger fish residents in on the pogies, you're talking about them getting spooky in that bluer water. I know there's no way to prove this, but do you think the bigger fish are in there because they have a hunting advantage because the water clarity is typically lazier? And Taylor and I think too, like they're dodging tide too. So like those bank fish, like, yeah, we get some big ones here and there, but like the average is at like 95 to 100 that can probably tolerate that current more than those big fish that are way inside and can dodge that hard outgoing current, shit like that.
That's why I brought up the black bunch that like came from the depths, because we're in there within, there's bunch to bunch to bunch of small fish, and then all of a sudden there's one bunch of slammers.
Yeah.
Where did they come from? And where were they going? And why did they come up? So like they're out there. They just didn't. We'll notice too out east that. So I guess what I'm trying to. I guess I'm answering your question in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
But like
Your own perspective. on it.
yeah. So like the bigger fish, that bunch might have been heading into the Cape Cod Bay, but like at that time it was 20 miles east of P-Town.
Yeah. Yep.
They could have been like, hey, I'm going to sit in that green water and mow on pogies, but they came from out east.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean,
I think they're somewhat antisocial. They don't like to mix with the smaller fish.
Yeah.
I think
can
the
agree
big
with
ones
that.
don't
Total.
like to be in with the
Total.
small fish. They like to
the
separate.
little ones push the big.
And I think that a school of pogies is much easier to catch and eat than a mackerel.
Right.
Agreed.
Or a big ball of herring.
Herring,
Would be easy.
Herring and pogies are got to be the two best
Yeah.
Yeah.
sources of food for them, But they'll eat anything. I mean,
What's the weirdest thing you've caught fish on?
well, I'll tell you
Yeah.
a story that just to this day still amazes me. I was out east with my buddy Paul, and we used to just go as far away as we could from everybody else. Talk about antisocial.
Sounds like
We
OG's
didn't want to
theory.
be near anybody. We just wanted to be by ourselves.
Remember
we don't want to get in arguments.
Remember the seal? Is that
Yeah,
what it's
that's where I'm going. So we go out there. We go out there, and he and I, and we're all by ourselves. There's nobody around. There's nobody out planes. There's no other competition. There's no other boats, and we see a line of 7 fish, all big, 750, 800 pounders. So we pull up on the bunch and we stick one of them. That's all you were allowed, one. So now there's 6. We get the fish on the boat, and I'm up. I like to stay in the tower, so we're heading home, and I'm in the tower, and Paul comes halfway up the tower. He says, "Mike, shut the boat, pull the boat back, come on down. We got a problem." So I go down in the cockpit. I go, "What's the matter, Paul?" He goes, There's hands inside this fish. I go, "What?" He goes, there's hands. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, "I can't get it out. I can't gut this fish. There's something inside of it. All I can feel are hands." He goes, "Go stick your hands in there." I go, "Holy crap, what the hell was that?" It was like you could feel 2 like things, like feet or hands or something. So I'm like, "What is that?" So I said, "Well, let's cut the."
And then Mike came out.
We normally.
That's how Mike was
Well,
born.
I was freaked out. This is crazy. So normally what we do is cut the gill plate off, cut the gills out, and we pull everything out. Well, we couldn't get whatever was in there out. So I said, let's cut the head off, and then we'll get it out. So we did that. We pulled a 50, 60, 70-pound seal out of the belly of this tuna fish.
I've actually heard this story through other people.
And we put it in the cockpit of the boat. I left the seal in the cockpit of the boat. And we got it out, and I said, the sideline story is here. What did the other 6 fish eat?
Yeah. They just maul a group of
Did they all
seals.
go and eat seal? Did all 6, 7 of them go eat a seal? Or did just this one got a seal? This one got a seal and the rest were eating pogies or mackerel or whatever. Yeah. That was the strangest thing. We were like,
insane.
Yeah, how did that happen?
It all in one piece?
So it was a whole seal. He'd just eaten it. It wasn't alive anymore, but it was so fresh. It was unbelievable. And so I'm just shaking my head. I get back and I start heading back to the harbor and we see one of our buddies out in front of the harbor. I wave him over and I lift the seal up. He goes, holy crap, you better not bring that in the harbor. I go, you get in trouble for that. He goes, what are you doing with it? I go, it was inside the tuna fish. He goes, get out of here. So I says, yeah, I said to Paul, we better get rid of this friggin' thing because we probably will get in trouble.
Yeah.
And
hepatitis.
A couple different pieces of trouble.
So I did. I chucked it over. But to this day, I always wondered, again, how do these 7 fish? How do they go feed? How do they regroup as a family group and get back together? Because basically with the tuna fish, if you see 10,000 tuna fish, they're probably 20-pounders. Yeah. If you see 5,000 tuna fish, they're probably 50-pounders. If you see 1,000 tuna fish, they're probably 100-pounders. And as you get, the bigger they are, the less of them there are. You see 1,000-pounder,
what happens?
Maybe there's 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
But that school that started off as, they say 40 million eggs that came out of a female, those 40,000 eggs only end up maturing to be 1,000-pounder.
Yeah.
But the smaller the bunch, the bigger the fish. The bigger the bunch, the smaller the fish. But we always wondered, what did those other 6 fish eat?
See, I disagree.
That's
I think
crazy.
they sometimes when they show up, they're in bigger bunches and then they split up. We've seen it. There's been days when
what sizes are they in the Carolinas? In giant
nobody
groups?
knows
they're in huge.
what they do.
They're in huge groups.
Yeah.
There's 30, 40 on the street.
kind of different because they're like straight up just migrating, I guess, right?
Yeah,
So what happens?
They're not hanging.
They all just go to the food source and they all. I don't know.
Do they not know each
I don't know
other?
if it's 2 or 3 or 4 bunches. I don't know.
They're like, "What are you doing?"
And they're all in there eating on the same food, and then they all go and I don't know what they do. They probably eat and run down deep. That's probably a behavior. Like I've seen it before in Chatham. I've seen terns following something, and we've got under the terns, and you look down 20, 30, 40 feet in the blue water, and you see the tuna fish down there, just fins out, just gliding along. You can't reach them with a harpoon.
The turns is one of my dad's trolling tricks.
Yeah.
It's like the lead turn.
Even
if
bait
you can put
fishing.
your far rigger in front of that lead turn and work your way parallel to him and get it ahead of that bird, you usually get a bite, and it's happened to us a lot.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Even bait fishing, like coming down the edge of the bank, you see them. Here come a half dozen white terns, and they're hauling ass.
Yeah.
And they're going.
Yeah, they are.
Probably 10 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, boom, 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 there's a bunch of bites right down the row.
Yeah. Sometimes they like when they first get here,
You'll see them. You'll see
they
them come
are
from the
swim
notch and
faster.
go up.
They swim
Oh yeah,
faster.
Yeah.
They'll be like steaming up there.
Yeah. Ripping up through the notch up the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do swim faster when they first get here. Then they
seal.
settle in and slow down. But yeah, that's a crazy story. We still, to this day, still talk about that.
What's the weirdest thing you've hooked one rod and reel on?
A dogfish? Has to be the dogfish. Yeah, a live dogfish. You just get so
live
frustrated.
dogfish.
Yeah,
That's
just
a
get so
newer
frustrated.
one.
Tom de Persia used to make chunk chains.
yeah.
Yep.
And he would marinate the friggin' things. But he would tie like 7 chunks of dogfish onto a wire leader. And you go out, that's all there were with dogfish. You could walk across the things. You couldn't fish. There were all kinds of tricks. We'd put our hook in a paper bag and put a rock in it. And when we marked the fish, we'd drop the paper bag down, and then we'd pull it. And the bait would come out of the bag, and the rock would take the bag away, and then maybe you'd get a bite, but it never worked.
They actually
We tried it though.
We tried it.
that tactic is actually like a prevalent thing in Hawaii.
Well, we used to take boards. We'd take boards, and we put a hook bait on a board. send the board out, chum like crazy. All the sharks would be behind the boat. The tuna fish would be further out. You send the board out. As soon as you get to the tuna fish, you slide the bait off
That's
the
a
board.
new one.
I told you.
You slide
do
the-
it like the same human. Tell them about your
That
boat.
worked.
Tell them
That
about your
did
boat.
work.
I used the remote control boat to bring my baits out the last few years.
Oh,
on
did
wind
you?
against, on
Past
wind
the
against
sharks?
tide, yeah. No, wind against tide to
Oh, I
bring it out
gotcha.
when you can't
Yeah.
get the bait out.
Well, there were shark problems, big sharks, and then you see the tuna fish out past the sharks, but you couldn't get your bait out there. So the only way to do it was send the board out with the bait on it.
Crazy.
Once you were in the tuna fish, you slide it. It worked.
When we were fishing off the herring boats up in Canada, they were getting smart. Like they'd be on the guys hauling their nets, but as soon as we get over to try to work the school around the boats, they go down to like 50 feet and they wouldn't need a hook bait. So we were putting a flutter herring on the bow of the herring boat and then free spool clicker on, driving away, and then waiting for them to come back up and going, "Thunk," and
Yeah,
popping it off the
off
bow.
the boat, yeah.
Yeah.
That was like the only way to get a bite a few days.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you guys go up there, it's August, right? Or
End of September, early October. I've been up there in August. That was actually probably one of my most fun trips. We were catching 900 pounders like at the SA buoy, essentially.
Right
like
out.
pull out to the bell, start chumming. There they are on the screen.
Yeah.
Just wild. It's not really like that anymore. We haven't hand fed in the last couple of years.
Really?
It's pretty traditional. I say traditional, but it's like
Dude, it's still
a
ridiculous.
big fleet day there is like 12 boats, and you're getting 2 to 4
I've been up
bites a
once
day.
with Andy and Ed.
That's right. So that same, when you guys went up in the summer, that was the summer I was up there. That whole like Surrey Harbor is where we were fishing out of. That was the last summer that the herring were there and that was actually going on.
Oh, it was crazy. It was the coolest experience.
The people are just amazing.
Yeah, like Troy and all them
Yeah,
guys. They're just
they're
the
just
nicest people in the world.
Really, really cool. And
But
Humble.
I remember he put a kite bait out, and it's literally 6 feet off the back of the boat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just fluttering. The mackerel's like kind of hanging out of the water, half dead. And I'm like, he's like, that'll work, right? Whatever, however they
Yeah,
tell him.
yeah.
He was like, you don't want to put it out a little further?
dude, we had 12 bites on the kite last year from here to my truck.
Yeah, crazy.
Just like it's just mind-boggling how different they behave with such less pressure on them.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Well, now it's like with the draggers.
yeah.
Look at these fish.
Yep.
They're literally
So dumb
just,
It's the
sometimes.
same with the airplanes in the harpoon boats.
Yeah.
If you didn't have airplanes, the fish would just come up and everyone would have an equal shot at them and you'd have a better time.
Yeah.
okay, Mike.
We got the sweetest deal going with the airplane. We don't want to talk about that, though.
They keep that stuff on the down low.
We used to talk about hand feeding.
Yeah.
I was anchored in the southwest corner one time, and we had two 800-pounders. Drop a piece of chum in the water. One would just come, shoosh, white water right behind the back of the boat. And my buddy Paul said, Mike, I'll give you 5 minutes. You don't hook that thing in 5 minutes. There's another one underneath him doing the same thing, maybe 20 feet down. He says, if you don't get that fish in 5 minutes with a hook bait, I'm going to harpoon him. So 5 minutes went by, I didn't hook him. He harpoons him right out of the cockpit of the boat. Big, giant fish. This was very educational for us because the fish
Sure it was.
the fish took the harpoon line, which was only about 300 feet long, took it, he went off the eastern edge of the bank,
Done.
took a right turn, went right to Peaked Hill, got to Peaked Hill, took a right turn, followed the edge all the way around Race Point, and went all the way into the bay down on the fishing ledge. Knew exactly where he was and exactly what he was doing.
Wow.
And we followed him for friggin' 10 hours before we eventually cut the wrong line and lost him. But that fish knew.
The wrong line, lost him.
That fish knew. That fish knew exactly where he was. I mean, he went off the eastern edge, went down along Peaked Hill. It was amazing. Really was amazing. And
Yeah,
he
like,
come
why do they
around
show
Race
up-
Point
why do they show up?
and way down on the fishing ledge, And
They
everyone was
show up in
wondering
the
how we were
southwest
making
corner. Did they show up in the southwest corner? Like, ooh, I'm back. What are they
So
called?
weird.
Well, they know.
Exactly.
They know just like we know the roads.
Yeah.
They know. They know. That's their environment. I mean, he makes fun of me all the time because I always wonder what the fish are thinking down there. What are they doing down there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
Crazy.
it sounds, we've all said it. There's no way to prove it in all these theories, but I firmly believe the more you think like you think they think,
Yeah, they don't.
the better you're going to be.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know?
So I believe they run east, right? So like if they're up feeding on the bank in the morning, we'll come out. You guys will all be hooked on the, anchor.
Rotting.
Yeah, rotting.
We
And
rotted.
we just
Rotting in the sun.
we just fly past that whole area so fast. But like, it's because the fish were there, but now they're east.
Yeah.
And they, especially in the summer months, they'll follow that sun glare and point into it. And we'll actually see that in the afternoon. They'll turn around, and as the west, the sun glare looks back to the west, they'll go back into it. So there'll be a lot of days where he'll see the water, but he doesn't understand. I can't throw out what I can't see.
Yeah.
So we have to do something different. We have to take him either sideways, head
Get
on.
out of the glare. Get out. Of
Somewhat.
The glare.
You got to be really, really talented on how you approach the bunch, because I can't hit what I can't see.
Yeah.
I'll see water, but is it a minke whale? We know it's tuna, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's just when we get closer to, it's just a mess of water. I can't see. I just see shicking up water. And
Can you kind of paint the picture for how many driving around hours it is for getting into epic fishing? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, like you steam out and you're immediately on them and immediately seeing them. Like,
no, a lot of the times, I mean, there's good days and bad days. So like, you're either if you're not early, you're late. So we'll go 5 days in a row without seeing a thing, and that sixth day we'll load up, and then that seventh day there'll be 20 harpoon boats where I was,
yeah,
and they're late. It doesn't matter. It's over. Show was yesterday. Yeah. So you're either early. If you're not early, you're late, and we'll go, like I said, 3-4 days without seeing a single bunch, and then we find 20 bunches.
yeah,
And that's fishing without a plane. We've done plenty of fishing without a plane. And that's one thing that people don't understand is the pilots, we don't go find the pilots. The pilots come to you based on your catch rate. Because if a pilot's flying around, finds bunches, he brings a boat and he whiffs 3 fish in a row, he ain't flying for you anymore.
no,
Because he just spent like 3 hours of fuel, a whole day of fuel, to keep that plane. And the planes pay for their own fuel, they pay for their own plane, they pay for everything, and they just get a portion of the fish. So if you're working with the plane and you're constantly missing, they'll just go to the next guy.
yeah,
So the guys that don't like planes, usually because they
Haven't
lost
had-
their chance.
yeah, exactly.
Right. So if that's a common misconception. The planes come to you because you're good, not the other way around. It's not because
Makes sense.
I want to
I
go
wouldn't
buy
have thought
a
of
plane.
it that way, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's not worth
After
the
you say
effort.
it.
Your question is so important because it applies rod and reeling too.
Yeah.
It's all about one thing. It's only one thing that matters: rod and reeling and harpooning, and that's the spot. Nothing else matters. Rod and reeling, everyone has fluorocarbon, everyone has live baits. You need to pick the spot.
The spot.
And with us, we could be 30 miles away from where the fish are up and showing, and we don't know it. You know what I mean? And the guys in the harpoon category, they're getting fish, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
So if you're not in the right spot, it's very important. It's so important to be in the right spot.
That's where instincts come in.
And we'll run around.
That's where it's hunting. It's like
you got to be in the right
you
spot.
got to be in the right spot, and then it's hunting skills.
Yeah.
Are you pretty much going, like, say you have the same weather pattern multiple days in a row? Are you.
The fish
That's,
get.
that's a dream come true.
No, the fish, you can't get on them after the second day, Mike.
Well, after
every
the first
time-
day, you going like immediately back to kind of where you were the second day? Rule of thumb.
When you have a constant period of high pressure, you can't get on the fish after the second day. You can't. They're numb. I mean, they're cartwheeling. Three boat lengths, they'll go down. You'll see fish. You'll know where they are, but you just can't get anywhere near them. Every time I've seen that constant high pressure, that's all it is. It's like there's a dream out there that, hey, we have 16 nice days in a row and we're going to catch fish every single day. It's never like that.
Yeah.
It's always patterns.
It's on a pivot of weather, typically
You
laying
need-
out.
Same as rod
like
reel.
a dying northwest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Same
my
as rod.
God.
It's so weird how it's the same as
run.
rod and reel, but like
Different. Yeah.
it's so
There's
it's
show
strange
days and
to
there's
me.
no show days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also a behavior shift too. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
you're capitalizing on their behavior at that section of the season, and rod and reel you're capitalizing on
Yeah.
when they pivot in their behavior in that section of the season.
Same thing.
They're doing the same shit. It's just
At different
at
times.
different times.
So if they eat at 8 o'clock at night and then come up and run from 12 to 4 in the morning, you're not going to see
Shit out of luck.
You know, then if they start eating at 8 in the morning and they're done by noon, then they come up and run, we're going to see them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times on those days that they're real hard, slack tide, same thing. We'll see big fish running at slack tide, and they'll be numb, and then all of a sudden, an hour goes by and they got smaller. You're like, what the heck happened? We were just running nice fish, and all of a sudden now they're peanuts.
Yeah.
They're school tunas,
Yeah.
and like, how did that happen? We're in the same spot in the same
They're
area.
just layered or something.
I don't
going
know.
up
The
and
big
down.
fish just pop and then they go down and then
Strange. What percentage of your fish do you guys stick that would you consider like feeding versus just traveling?
it's getting a feeder is like 1 out of 50.
Okay, so like very small percentage.
Yeah. I mean,
Mostly the pogey stuff.
Well,
bluefish, too.
I don't call that.
Okay, you don't call it the
feeders. They're
feeders.
just there.
They're in
Tending
in
the
the bait.
They're tending the school. They're not jumping through the school. That's more likely to get one
Yeah.
in feeders that way. I'm saying like out east, like when they're in.
For some reason, they like to knock around bluefish.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is.
I like to knock around
It just-
bluefish. I can't stand the thing.
They just keep
I feel
knocking
like
them out of the water.
swallowing one of those things alive would fucking suck.
Yeah.
So like I feel like I'd want to kill it before swallowing it.
Well, you know why they can do that, why they can eat a dogfish, why they can eat a bluefish without getting hurt? There's a thing in their throat called, and I hate to be too scientific.
gotta.
Here we go. It's called the pharyngeal
We need Tyler
basket.
here. Tyler.
Wait. What is it?
Pharyngeal basket, it's called.
That might be the name of
When
this
you
podcast.
when you get a striper that you've hooked real deep and you stick your finger in there
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you feel pinch,
Yeah.
all fish have it. It's called the pharyngeal basket. A tuna fish, when it eats a bluefish or a dogfish, in a fraction of a second, it crushes every bone in its body and then swallows it. And that's called the pharyngeal basket. It's a crusher that's in their throat that
I
lets
think
them
my
eat.
wife has one of those.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if this.
Well, now we know that she
40.
doesn't listen to your podcast. That's what that's called. And there's another scientific thing that we were talking about with the sun. They say they have a third eye. Have you ever heard that?
I have.
It's called the pineidal eye. It's in between their
I thought it
two
was
eyes,
called
and
the
it's on their brain.
pineal
And that's what,
eye.
yeah, whatever it's called, however you pronounce it. Scientifically, they follow the sun with that. They use it for navigation. It's called their third eye, and
Well, that's why they run to the east.
yeah, that's why they run to the east.
I tell you,
in the
you see
morning
these
when the sun's
bunches-
coming up, or in the afternoons when it's setting in the west, they'll go that way.
Have you guys seen that? Have you seen
We've
bunches?
seen it. The weird part is like there's times that you guys are harpooning, quote unquote digesting fish, but then we're getting bit on raw and reel in the bank. So that's
Same
like
time.
that's the thing that's weird.
Next time,
Or you see them at slack tide. You harpoon them on slack tide, but we're hooking them on rod and reel.
Yeah, but you
at
still
slack
have-
tide.
100%. But at that point in the year, you have new fish coming in. You have fish that have already
It could just be-
patterned the bait that
Yeah.
are on that digestion mode.
Right. Could
so it's
be
like
rotating.
a flip-flop.
Maybe
if
they're
you're out of
rotating.
the southeast corner and you see, like, I'm trying to think of a good spot that you'll see it because we see it out at Wildcat east of that.
I mean, we've 100% chased them like during the day.
Yeah.
Like following fish that you can
the-
see that are milling that on a calm day when we're trolling.
In the-
Like
I'm
see
saying,
them somewhere.
Like, the afternoon when you see a bunch that's running up on the surface, pushing water, making the wakes behind them. If it's later in the afternoon, pay attention to which way they're going. 90% of the time, if it's a group, not a single, like who knows what the singles do, but 90% of the time, if it's a bigger group, they're going into the sun
Yeah.
at like an hour and a half before sunset.
Interesting.
You'll see the sun real low on the horizon. You'll see that big glare, and they're just going right into it.
Yeah.
Why? It's just like
You wonder if they follow the sunset and come all the way back inshore at night, and in the
That's what
morning,
I think.
in the morning they just filter out. Because think of how many bites we used to get trolling. We'd put the rigs out like west of the bank in the deep water, get all of our shit set up so that like we were ready to go when we hit the edge, and then you hit the edge and you were on like face into the sun. Sun's rising right in front of the boat. So like that would make sense if they're coming up from behind you and actually catching up with you, or you're going the same direction as them.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It kind of goes back
Maybe
to
there's a
that.
secret pogey night bite.
Goes back to that, like, that fish being tagged out at Franklin Swell and coming back to the bank. Like,
Yeah. What was the timing of that? Any idea?
one day. It's crazy.
So we went east all day, and then what came back at night?
Throughout the night, just swam back to the shoal.
It's insane.
Insane,
It
right?
really is.
So, like, the sun will. We stuck one, actually. Remember that fish we stuck after sunset?
Yeah.
Really?
The sun was down, and there was still fish everywhere, and we hit it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you have a headlamp on?
Well, you know that the V in the water.
Yeah.
You know
I
there's a
saw
fish,
him.
you
I
know what I
could
mean?
see-
Eventually, you
well,
get there. They can't see you either.
It was enough light to see, it was literally right down.
Wonder if you could see him at night with a thermal drone doing it.
Maybe with the tails and stuff out of the water.
You know, like if their back was breaching.
Yeah, you could definitely, but
Don't.
as soon as it,
I'm not trying to open a can of worms here.
it might be a good way to find
spitballing.
pogies. Might be a good way to find pogies.
I know.
You could probably find pogies at thermal drone if they're on the surface.
Yeah.
We're going to go a night.
Night harpooning.
This bad. Not even the.
Look at
Not even,
Mike's brain's melting in his head.
he's already cold, and it's
All I can picture is the Matrix when all like the numbers
Yeah.
are falling.
It's all raining.
I still want to know how do 190-inch fish. I can't agree with my wife on Friday night. Way to go eat. How does 100 fish decide? Okay, let's go. Time to go eat, and they all go eat at the same time.
Is there like an
100%
alpha
true.
fish that's
It's
just,
like crazy.
And it could be the
Crazy.
entire bank.
Yeah, I
It
know.
could be the entire East Coast.
Entire East
Yeah.
Coast.
Like,
We've
see-
texted our friends.
Texting the PEI guys like, oh, we're tight. And they're like, we are too. And we're 1,000 miles from each other.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know?
Same thing happens to harpooning. Like they'll be good down in Chatham.
yeah, it'll be good up here.
It'll go everywhere.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they ran that day.
Yeah.
So like that's my thing is like everyone thinks like you got to be where the guy that catches the fish is.
Sometimes you gotta wait or be.
You got to be in the
spot.
other spot. Like go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because if you're near, like that's what I learned from Mike Pratt. Like if you're near Mike Pratt when he was doing good and catching fish with Ralph, you wouldn't catch anything because you're in their area. Because you're fishing there. Same thing with us. If I'm working with Mark and we're going bunch to bunch, you're running our reruns.
Yeah.
You're literally running fish that we already took a bunch.
That he already missed. Yeah, and he's already spooked.
Here's something I wanted to
I
say.
had to get that in there.
Something I wanted to
Is the
say,
ball
too.
busting all day?
Oh, I
fucking
no,
love it.
no.
Because this is
We laugh.
how we are. Like
Yeah.
we're not.
We
like,
laugh a lot, you know.
Yeah,
we
you
have
got
some fun.
It's the only way to get through. There's so much
Yeah.
doldrums involved
yeah,
with this
yeah.
type of fishing. One thing that I want to talk about I've only been a handful of times. I think I went.
I haven't even been yet.
Taylor hasn't been yet. I went like 4 times last year. I was like twice the year before, a couple times the year before that. And one thing that I didn't really put into perspective until I went is what can mess the harpooners up, like wakes. Like I never even really like it's such
Boat
a
wakes?
such
I
a
hate
simple thing.
Go the other way. Like that's why we go out east because there's no boats.
And I guess where I'm trying to get at is like you're fishing on the bank and you see all the pulpit boats, going east. It's not like you're gonna go follow them and be able to hook those fish rod and reel. A, you're probably not gonna be able to hook them because they're not behaving correctly. But B, you're gonna get there and you're gonna troll spreader bars or you're gonna be resetting drifts and all that, and you are completely mucking up that whole area. It completely throws you off. It's messing up tide lines with wakes and old water and new water with fish with wakes. Like that's huge. I never even thought of that until I was out
Boat
there.
wakes.
Like because of what you're looking for.
You're looking for water. and
You're looking for water.
Boat wakes from a distance will look like a bunch.
Yeah. Yep.
But then they're long.
yeah. Like if you have the eye for it and like you understand, but still like getting mucked up with that, you're taking your focus off of what you should be focusing on. You know.
I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
Well, you know me. When I'm in the bay, I'm always cognizant of the lines. So the Plymouth to Race Point, Plymouth to Pete Town, Green Harbor to Race Point, the canal to the southwest corner.
And then we
all
go
the
to
traffic.
Marianne. And
you try to find a little spot where nobody is on those lines, so that you're in a little quiet area where if the fish come up, they're not getting run over. There's no boat wicks. It's like, closed days in July, when July 1 comes and the general category's closed, those days are great when it's nice out, and there's no general category boats around,
Yeah.
It's quiet, so.
You're just going to stop the boat in that spot? Right?
Yeah, we used to. Yeah, that's where the fish are. So, I mean, it is. That's why everyone goes east. The harpoon boats go east. They want to get past everybody and past the mess and the boat sounds and the whale boats and
Have that clean water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get away from everybody.
You
Makes
gotta-
sense.
My thing is you got to keep the speed up.
Yeah.
If the water's, I'd rather Mike. I remember Pratt teaching me this early. You'd rather miss a single and find the mother load or big herds than sit around and putt around at 6 knots, 7 knots.
Yeah.
So if you're going 14 knots all day, you might miss a single, but you're more apt to. It's
you're covering
math.
water, so
it's math.
Yeah, totally.
So you're just
What is-
burning all the time.
Sometimes you'll find a bunch of 100 fish that are all nice 90-inch fish, and you'll get one out of it, and then the bunch will come back up again. So you can get your fish on the boat, get re-rigged, and there's the bunch back up again. And you can go get 5 fish out of that bunch. So that's what you're looking for. You get one, there's no more. That's the end.
It's speed. So you can't worry about fuel, and you just can't worry about how far away you are from home. Some days the sun goes down, it was 65 miles from home.
Yeah.
And we planned on staying in the bay. Like that's literally what happens a lot.
It's correct me if I'm wrong, but it's generally a gentleman's start to the day, but you guys will work until the wee hours of the nighttime.
Depends when they run until, right? So
Yeah.
like if the fish are up and we're messing around with fish going into that glare right until sunset, we'll keep we'll keep obviously trying.
Yeah.
Or if the fish are down off of Chatham, like that couple years back, 2018 and 19 there, we're leaving at 4 a.m. because that's an early game. You can get those fish at 8, 9 in the morning.
Why is that? Any idea?
Why?
Yeah,
Because
why?
they're in the sand eels.
Okay.
I think. I mean, if they're in those sand eels, in the whales, and you get that bubble feed, and there's big, giant schools of sand eels, and there's 25 bunches flying around in between all that mess. Yeah, you can get them early.
We saw it at Peaked Hill probably 2 years ago.
Already pushing
it was a lot.
at sunrise.
Pushing
Already
at sunrise. Yeah, like milling fish, bunches of like 6 to 10 fish.
Trolling small ones.
And seeing bunches of giants.
90 inchers pushing water.
Yeah, it was strange.
Crazy.
I haven't seen that at first
90
light.
inches on Peaked.
Didn't want to eat anything. Put
Was
a
that
live
last
bait
year?
2 years ago.
And last year too.
A little bit last year.
What was the year? Yeah, that was the year before. That was the year before. 2 years ago.
Yeah, I haven't seen them like not.
Where's
feeding.
my question is, where's the whales and eels?
I don't know. There was definitely some at Peaked Hill. There's probably
Later in the season.
2 years ago. There was at some points like 50 whales down there, but
This year it was more sporadic.
This
the eels
year,
were smaller,
probably 20
too.
whales.
It was a lot harder to get bites out of them down there this year. We had a few days where there was one day. Was it one of the openers, or it was like a couple days off, and it was the next open day or something. We were doing well on the bank, and we were looking at each other like, we can't go to the fucking bank. Like, we're gonna be covered up. We cannot go to the bank. And
That must be hard. Everyone, you guys.
it's really hard. And then we all went to Peaked Hill, and there was 6 of us, and we each marked 50 fish, got 1 to 2 bites apiece, and we were all by ourselves, and that was it. It was over. It was like, went back the next day, nothing. It was
Nothing
hard
there.
to get bites out. Like marking 40 to 50 and getting a bite.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
like
it's-
just streaking over, trying everything, live, dead,
That happened to me this
Everything.
year because during the tournament, that was the September opening.
Yeah.
Everyone was up on Middle Bank or Southwest Corner, and
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like going. So I went to Peaked Hill. There was like 6 boats there. Put the line out. Go to put the second line out. Oh, we're on.
Yeah.
It was instant.
Yeah.
And we lost it at the boat, but then everything went downhill after that. We lost another one. Blah, blah, blah. We didn't end up getting a fish, but like, yeah. It was the same thing, but then after that, it was hot.
Yeah.
It was like instant, and then it went.
The pressure is significant. And we've seen it. We've seen it with like your own individual pressure on a school of fish that's hanging with you. And then we've seen it with the general fleet pressure. It's like they do not like pressure. They don't at all, you know? One thing that we do from actually quite a bit, you know, if we're doing well and like we're repeating in a certain spot, we'll obviously try to keep going there. But we pay a lot of attention to current speed. So I probably shouldn't even be talking about this, but
Oh, it's top secret. No.
we pay a lot of attention.
We can cut this out.
yeah.
A lot of attention to current
No, you can leave
speed.
it.
So like if we're doing well on a drastic piece of wall, and then, you know, it's been a good day, current's picking up, we'll like purposely move to a slope instead of a wall to allow the current to basically die out.
Deaden a little bit.
Deaden a little bit to keep all of our stuff vertical. So like we might not be where we were for 3 days in a row, but on the 4th day, we're like a mile to 2 miles south of where everyone saw us
Isn't it?
the first 3 days, and it's like your baits are fishing a 45 up there, and our baits are fishing vertical. And even if we only have 2 swim by us, they're gonna eat it.
Yeah, there'll
You
be
know.
less fish for sure. But
Isn't it
that's-
funny?
There it is, the spot.
Yeah,
It's all about the
and
spot.
it's not like the spot. It's, you need to anticipate the spot.
Where they're going to be the next day.
Exactly.
That's what Charlie was good at.
I
Yes.
think it's
Charlie
funny
was so
how
good at that.
Yeah,
how much we think about it and how much it matters too. Like you said this, like the more you try to think like a tuna fish, the more you'll catch them.
yeah,
And
100%.
yeah, you're a
People
little
think-
psycho.
people think it's like it's not luck. It's not. I mean, it is. You'll have good days and you'll be
Yeah.
lucky, but like, it's not luck. It's total skill. And
calculated
understanding that is everything.
Luck's is when you go to the same spot the next day and there's just a whole herd of new fish. That's luck. Like if the weather doesn't change and you just show up and you're like, oh my God, they're everywhere. That's just like they just showed up.
Yeah,
But like everything
when
else
it's,
is just
when it's been like
calculated.
a repeatable.
Yeah.
The school's 100 fish and it's getting dwindled, and then you make that pivot so that you're able to get that bite. That's where it's.
Yep.
That's where.
That's the little minutia that makes a
Sometimes we
big
sacrifice it too. Like we'll sacrifice. It's you know we don't want to tell our charters, but like there'll be a whole half a day that we might not get bit because we're sitting somewhere random, knowing that like guys are gonna get
Show up in the
antsy
afternoon.
and they're gonna leave, and then you just pivot to where we know they're gonna show up, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
you get
They are
bit.
creatures of habit.
Yeah.
Yep,
And they
Yeah,
are
you know-
probably one of the most talked about fish in the Northeast.
for sure.
At this point,
You know that 3
Yeah,
hours
you go-
after that tide, they're going to be at the 152.5
You hope
in the
so.
southwest corner or
Yeah.
something. You know, it's like, or the 220 up in mid bank.
One thing too is we're always like paying it. One bit of information we try to always get, you know, through our network is what was in your fish's stomach. And we've talked about this before, but that paints such a big picture. You know, it's like, oh, that fish had caught in the corner, had pogies in it though, so they're probably down in there at this section of the tide, which means you can try to catch them at this funnel before they make it to this part of the bank. You know,
It's like,
all just-
deer hunting.
yeah, seriously, though.
yeah.
Seriously, like,
Yeah.
you know, can you catch them on the 900 line before they make their way to the edge, or vice versa?
Right. Oh, there's herring on the corner and mackerel on middle bank, and they got 3/4 digested herring, and then they got fresh mackerel after you kill them. You know, they going from south to north.
Yeah,
It's
You know,
the
they-
same old thing.
It's the
Herring
same.
on the bottom,
Yeah.
whiting on the bottom,
What's your
mackerel up high,
What's your
pokey up
favorite
high.
bait to fish? If you had one bait to fish the whole rest of your life, what would it be on the bank?
Herring.
Whiting.
My man.
I thought it was going to be whiting.
No, I like whiting too, but
I love
if I
herring.
get herring, I
Ah,
love
whiting.
herring.
Ugh.
I like squid too.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
here's the
Good.
thing. He catches, sometimes there'll be no one getting anything, and he'll go tight. You know why? Because the driftwood. They think the boat's driftwood. I swear.
There's something to that. We paint the bottoms of our boats white.
Yeah.
And
They're schooling under him like a mahi.
whale belly.
Whale belly, yeah.
Full
Like,
tuna
oh,
looks like a big,
finally,
big
there's no
whale
boat
just
around.
walking around.
Since Mike up there.
Yeah.
That's too funny.
Mike's got a bunch of fake bait fish.
I
It's
hooked
like a
up
little
last
reef.
year. I don't know if I told you this. I hooked up last year on a 6-inch whiting.
Yeah, 6 foot wide.
It was dead. I mean, it was literally, I just threw it out on a balloon 40 feet from the balloon. Everyone's calling me, what'd you hook up on, Mike? What'd you hook up on? 40 feet from the balloon, whiting, dead.
I think you're on drugs.
No, son. I did. That's what I hooked up on. That's all I had.
Hook in the water. Hook in the water.
Crazy.
Some of the bites or some of the harpoon fish, you like, that was a gift.
Yeah. That there's one shot in the show. One of the shots I've watched, like literally rewind played it, is that shiner that you're on the bunch and the bunch fades out and you're like, oh fuck, and then the shiner
Comes from the left.
from the left.
Yeah.
I missed.
yeah,
I
yeah,
started
that's
screaming.
right.
I'm screaming. Here
Yeah.
it comes.
So there was one.
That was crazy.
Again, that gift. He turned right. It was two fish, but they weren't running next to each other. It was the shiner to the left, and then there was one fish deeper. He turned. It was a deeper shot, and I whiffed, and I pull back, and then as I'm pulling back, everyone's yelling, to the left, and I look left, and here he is, and he's swimming right in front of me, and I smoke him, and I'm like, wow, he must have really wanted to die.
Yeah, crazy.
That was crazy. That's the one you're probably talking
Yeah,
about.
oh, yeah.
I mean, we got
That
two.
shot is
We got
just
two last season, and that even to get one in a season is lucky. But to get two in one season,
What,
that's
two shiners
crazy.
you're saying?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah, we got
the
two.
fish, and
Yep.
I explained it on the show.
Yeah, you did a
but,
good
like,
job.
If they're blind in one eye, the bad eye will be up.
Right. So they're defending themselves
They
below.
can't see you.
So they can
Oh, yeah. That's
They
the
don't know
best.
you're there. You know?
just wait. You know, he can't see it. He's looking down.
Yeah.
Taylor,
I killed a deer.
yeah, tell
I killed the bigger buck I killed this past season. I thought he was looking at me, so I shot him quartering too, and I ended up getting him. And he was blind, and his
Yeah.
so
We rolled-
so Jeff's helping us track him. We get like right up to him, finally see him. We're all amped, and he's probably like, I don't know, 20 yards away, and we got like our headlamps and flashing on him. And Jeff's like, "Don't move, he's alive," and I'm like, dude, the thing is like croaked on the ground, like with its tongue out. I'm like,
Bundled into
I'm
like
pretty
a
sure it's dead. Pretty sure it's dead. He's like, deer don't ever close their eyes when they're dead.
No, they don't have their eyes open
they don't-
when they're dead.
They don't.
Yeah.
No, he goes, they don't have their eyes closed because
Yeah,
they're always
yeah,
open.
yeah,
when
yeah,
they're dead.
yeah, that's
He goes,
right.
they don't ever have their eyes closed when they're dead. And I've only killed. This would be that would have been my fourth deer, and so I don't know enough. And he's like, I'm not gonna say what he did, but long story short, he walked up to it, prepared to kill it again. And it ended up being dead, but it was just from fighting and stuff. Its whole eye was
It
like
was
swollen
gored
shut.
in one side.
But the way he approached me, I didn't know at the time that he was blind.
Yeah. So Taylor's telling us, he's like, he's looking right at me. So I took a court. It was a great shot placement.
He was looking at me with both his eyes.
Yeah, but we're like, he wasn't looking at you.
Yeah. No, he looked right at
Sometimes you
me.
gotta get
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's even a blind squirrel gets a nut. once
That's
in a while.
right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Love it.
What, how much longer you got to go on the boat? You think you're going to be ready to rumble? In
Should
June?
be motor. So I'm rebuilding a 34 South Shore. I bought it up out of Spruce Head, Maine, and needs a lot of work. It needed work. The motor was 15,000 hours. I picked it up pretty cheap, but I like the hull, solid glass hull. Motor's in, exhaust is in. Literally, the motor will run now if I can put a battery to it to start it. So it's hooked up, lined up, tower and pulpit ready to go. I did that before I did the motor just because I'd rather it come down to my mechanic than the welder. And the welder's great too, but like that's just way more complicated.
Yeah.
So I got that part of the project done first. So now it's just hard work and getting the thing together. So I think I'll be ready.
Yeah.
But if you look at the boat right now, it doesn't look like
It comes together quick. It comes together quicker than you think, though.
Yeah.
You know.
Because they're really simple machines. I mean,
Yeah. You don't need much on those boats.
There's no toilet. There's nothing down below. You actually don't want stuff. Harpoon boats, if they're heavy up in the bow, they'll push more of a bow wake, and they'll scare the fish. So you want all the weight aft. So I have 300 gallons of fuel. I might not use all that fuel, but at least it's there if I want to counterbalance the weight, so I ride nice. You can't. They're specially rigged boats. I mean, any boat you could put a tower and pulpit on there, but to have a really good harpoon boat, it needs to be stripped down and nothing besides, bare bones. That's what makes them good.
How big's the pulpit?
I think it's my old stand from the old boat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I just had to fabricate my old stuff onto this boat.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Save some. Well,
a lot of money.
Kind of save some dough.
Yeah,
You're still rebuilding a boat, but
Yeah, and I'm doing the work myself, so it's saving a lot there. But it's just a lot of hours.
Yeah.
I think I'm up to 350 hours, and I'm like, it's like
It'll be worth it, though.
3 days a week, full hard days, you know.
Yeah.
The image of a harpoon boat on the water is just such a cool sight.
it is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. They're just so cool looking.
It's such a unique boat and
Yeah.
fishery.
Yeah. Very unique. Very
Yeah.
very old historical fishery.
This episode of the SeaBros Fishing Podcast is brought to you by Satfish, your all-in-one map resource to help you find offshore game fish like tuna, mahi, and marlin. Satfish combines high-definition sea surface temperature and chlorophyll charts, currents, satellite altimetry, and bathymetry to give you a full picture of the fishing grounds and make it easy to find the best areas to fish. They have a daily cloud-free sea surface temperature map for full coverage even when it's overcast. You know that one lucky captain who always seems to catch fish even on the toughest days? Odds are he's staying right on the productive temperature and color breaks with Satfish instead of wasting time and fuel searching through lifeless water. Best of all, they specifically built their mobile app to work offshore and offline when you're out in the grounds. Just load up the latest charts when you're at the dock, and they'll automatically get saved for offline use when you lose cell service. You can use Satfish your entire fishing trip to track your position and stay right in the bite zone. We've had a couple of seasons to play around with it now, and it's got excellent northeast coverage for you canyon fishermen out there. It's been a great tool for us finding bluefin on our own near-shore tuna grounds, and Satfish is an invaluable resource for anyone from weekend warriors, charter captains, to marlin tournament pros. For just $129, you get full access to all of Satfish's maps and resources for an entire year, and you can save $20 on your first year's subscription by using code SeaBros at checkout. Satfish even comes with a 30-day free trial, so you can try it out before you buy. Level up your offshore game, check out Satfish, and see for yourself why it's the science of being lucky. What's some of the coolest stuff you've seen that hasn't been a tuna fish from the tower or the airplane?
Joey and I are coming back from out east one day.
Oh,
And this was crazy. We're coming back from the east, and we're both down in the wheelhouse, sitting side by side just talking. And on the other side of Joey, about 50 feet from the boat, is a minke whale traveling with us. I go, hey, how
50
fast
feet?
you going on the GPS? How fast you going? He goes, 18 knots. There's a minke going 18
happened to
knots
us.
for 5 minutes.
No. He got right next to us.
He was so close to us.
Not 50 feet. He was like 12 feet, like just porpoising next to us.
So we're like,
I'm like,
this
"Whoa."
is the strangest behavior I've ever seen. I mean, he was going 18 knots and for 5 minutes. And we're going, what the?
It's hard to
We
remember.
didn't know.
I mean, like, you
we
know,
didn't
you
hit
see
anything.
so much.
It's not like we hit a baby and the mother pissed off at us.
Yeah.
We don't know why it was doing that. It was just doing that.
the white sharks used to be cool, and they're still cool. They're still amazing.
the white
to
sharks
see,
are
but, like,
cool. The white sharks are cool.
I think I didn't see any white sharks up until like 6-7 years ago. Now it's
They're everywhere.
everywhere. Now we see them.
I saw 3 last year.
Yeah. They're just
Saw one jumbo on the bank,
The one on the southwest corner.
18 feet.
Oh my God! I'll never forget
Huge.
the size of that fish.
Its back was as wide as this
It was
table.
like one of those when the corner was good and the fish were in the dolphins, which was honestly a new
were
thing for
insane
us.
this year. You guys must have saw
Like
those, right?
I'd never really gotten bites in big schools of dolphins like that before.
On the bank.
And the fish were with them for it was probably like a 10-day period of fishing down there when it was like that.
where on the southwest corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
They would just zigzag from like the tip all the way up to the notch and just keep going back and forth out to the deep water sometimes, but pretty much just running the edge,
we were getting bites right in them.
eating herring.
Right in them. But I just remember
So
like
you see the porpoise and then
oh yeah, like
Yeah, you think
I
you
just posted a
porpoise.
video of it today, you see the dolphins ripping through. I didn't have the bite that day on
I've caught
film,
big
but-
eye on the canyons like that.
Yeah, pilot whales and Rizzo dolphins and all that. But yeah, I just remember it was dolphins on along the edge. We had herring on the edge. The bird life was pretty good. There were humpies up on the high ground, and there was just this massive white shark on the high ground in the middle of all of it, just like owning the whole, like the high spot on the
Yeah.
high ground, just owning the entire thing. I'll never forget seeing that.
Oh, they're pretty cool to watch from the stand because we get to go right over them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll take the harpoon and I'll slap the tail.
That's cool.
Sometimes the tuna fish will follow the basking sharks,
That's cool.
and that is cool. When you know there's one on it, and they won't leave it. You can pull up right up to the basking shark, and there's a tuna fish right there.
That's
That's
crazy.
pretty cool.
That's
What do you think the
crazy.
deal is there?
I don't know. I don't know, but we've seen that quite a few times. It's not unusual. We've seen it enough.
He thinks his friend's big.
I don't know.
Wow.
Do they follow any? Like, have you been able to harpoon them right off the back of
Oh,
a
yeah.
Yeah.
W, of a whale?
We haven't
Say
had
that,
too
but-
many close calls.
Well, the one on the show was real close.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
right
following
there.
a whale.
That
like
whale was right there. In the
yeah, the one, yeah.
Have you had them like following a whale like the basking sharks?
No, not really.
They're in there, but the whales are going too slow. Sometimes
Yeah.
so they'll end up just going around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the baskers sometimes start chugging along pretty good, and they'll actually make water and they look like a single for a minute, but then it just looks too correct. You know what I mean? Something's
Yeah.
right. It's too good.
Yeah.
You're out there.
It's too perfect of water.
Yeah.
2 miles away, you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, there's no
Yeah, I
way.
can see that. Maybe they're just saving energy, like someone that drifts in NASCAR.
Yeah, it could be.
Let's go away from harpooning just for a second. I mean, I've asked a few people this question. What is like your bucket list fishing experience? I mean,
Blue Marlin.
Have you caught one yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2.
Nice.
you got 2 last year?
I do well. And the other, you're saying bucket list still haven't caught.
Like, it could be a species, it could be a place.
Yeah.
It could be like a tactic you've wanted to try. Like,
I
what's
think- so-
something that's always
so
like, I
harp-
need to do this before I die.
Harpooning is amazing. I love it. I love the hunt. Rod fishing's great, obviously, when you're getting them and stuff. But like blue marlin fishing is awesome. I mean,
is.
if when you have to pitch bait and like bait and switch and all that stuff, you need like 3-4 good guys that know what they're doing. The captain needs to know what they're doing. You need a good pitch guy. You need a guy on each rigger knowing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Seeing those canyon boats and those tournament boats that know how to catch marlin, it's like an
It's
It's an art.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
It's intricate.
For me, I think it's a size thing. Like, I want to catch an over 10-pound largemouth. I've caught 2 on my little boat. My son caught one and my cousin caught one. And they both were over 10 pounds. But I haven't caught one over 10 pounds. I want to catch a 30-pound pike, over 30 pounds. I've caught one 28, but I haven't broke 30 yet.
Yeah.
So I caught a 1,000-pound tuna fish, I'd love to catch a striper in that 75-pound class, I'd love to do that, but, I don't know if it'll ever happen. So for me, it's a size thing more than
benchmark size. of
yeah.
species.
Yeah.
It's really hard. We chatted about this a little bit at one of the hunting club nights, but the fishery, like just the general fishery from the canyons to harpooning, what we have up here in the Northeast is pretty tough to top, honestly.
Well, we have the bluefin tuna and the whitetail deer. I mean, you're talking about two
Yeah.
premier, top of the line. I mean,
Game species,
there are guys
land
who
and
catch
sea.
big blue marlin.
Have you ever killed a fish in the morning and went and caught a deer in the
Yeah,
afternoon?
oh yeah.
Oh, you have?
Oh yeah.
Surf
Oh,
and
yeah.
turf.
When?
Many times. Yeah, I've done it a couple times. Yeah.
That's my goal for this year. Like every year,
I tried with my
sick.
son, and we just got the deer. We missed the tuna fish. It was the December opening, and it was December 2nd, and we caught. I couldn't get. There was fish all over the place. I couldn't get a bite. I sucked. We ended up getting. He got a deer that afternoon. It
Nice.
was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
You know.
Yeah, it is tough to beat. We have a lot of cool
Yeah,
stuff
we're very
here.
fortunate.
And all within very close proximity. Like you think about big game fishing all throughout the world, and there's really not that many places where it's like even less than a 20-mile run or a 30-mile run. You know, you look at what the Louisiana guys have to do and the West Coast guys have to do, and you know, up in our neck of the woods here, we're pretty fortunate that you can catch 1,000-pound animal 8 miles off the beach or
I wish the
closer.
Or less than a mile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
10 feet of water.
10 feet of water.
If I missed that fish, the harpoon was stuck in the ground.
I hooked two
was
fish
that
last year
shallow?
bass fishing.
Oh yeah. It was.
I was actually just gonna say that
Bass
because
fishing twice last
he
year.
was out a couple years ago. You were with the kids on. I think you were on Lightning. You still had Lightning at the time.
Yeah, we found one on a spin.
And we had the bass trip in the morning. We had the tunas blowing the pogies up in front of the North River, and then we went back out. We hooked one on the bass rod right in front of
Dude,
you.
we had 130s out. We had 130s out and
then
a kite out. And
Goody was with you.
Yeah,
right?
we saw some
Yeah.
bass.
130.
We saw some bass with our 130s out, and my wife was there, and I'm like, let's just catch our bass. So Brian snags fish. He gets like a 40-incher. Oh, snags another one. We have our tuna rods out. Like we were going to try to catch the couple
We had a
fish.
kite and a floater.
We saw 2 fish in the morning there. And hook another pogie, starts reeling it in. Tuna eats it. Ran east.
we were
Dodged
going
like 80 lobster.
we were going
claws.
like 12 knots for a half an hour.
Yeah, cruising speed.
That's the
on
one
bow.
where you put the 130 on the spinner.
Yeah.
rod,
Yeah,
right?
because the spinning rod just exploded essentially.
Yeah. That's
Too bad you didn't get that.
I hooked one last year. I wouldn't even let it come tight. I saw it, grabbed the spool, and I held the spool, and it broke. I was like, oh. I would have lost the whole. Once they get going, you can't stop.
No way.
No.
It's over. You're going to get stripped. And then I was trolling X-Wraps, and I hooked one. Yeah, it just stripped me. It was just
why-
over so fast.
The best way to catch bluefin is
Yeah.
right here
Yeah.
with electricity.
Yeah.
Best quality too.
No fight, no disappointment.
The bronze.
Some
What do they
discipline,
call it? The
but-
bronze mackerel.
Bronze mackerel.
Are
yeah.
you ever afraid? Are you ever scared to be like, you dart them, it doesn't pull, everything works right, and you're holding an 800-pound animal like half buoyant in the water. Are you ever scared like getting zapped by that thing?
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sometimes I hope, you know.
Thanks, Mike.
Because like
you better kill me. You know I'm gonna fucking
that's
kill
what
you.
Jeff said. That he goes, if you zap me, you better hope you kill me.
Oh, man.
Well, you have to be wet. You have to have breaks in the line. It takes a lot to
Well,
cause that accident to happen.
the zapper
I hope it
cable
never,
is
ever does.
significantly all relative. The zapper cable's pretty cheap,
Yeah.
so I buy coils of like 2,500 feet, the 120 foot rigs. So like, how many is that? You get a bunch. Yeah, 20,
Yeah.
30 rigs out of like a
Make sure it looks nice.
200-300.
I
I think it's 600 volts, right? Is it 600 volts that go
Well,
on?
there's the old system.
amp
It's right
system.
there behind you. The zapper.
That's like I don't even want to ask questions about that because I know it's like it seems like
You don't have to.
yeah, kind of a
niche
trick of the
it's a
trade,
niche thing.
niche-y thing,
Yeah.
you know.
No, there's definitely it's complicated.
Yeah. I just think like those days where you're killing re-rigging, it's like
Some bad's
you're-
about to
yeah,
happen,
you know, like you're going that many repetitions and re-rigging that much. It's like you got to have that in the back of your mind that you're not nicking that coating and doing shit like that.
Well, it depends if he drives the fish off.
Because you can electrocute the whole boat, you know, if
That's all.
things went the wrong way, you know.
That's too funny.
No, I mean if you
Have you ever driven over a fish?
No.
No. This is Goose Aboard table,
Fitting
by
with
the
all
way.
the boat wear going.
It's perfect. What's this sheet
This is
cost?
my engine cover.
What's this sheet cost?
325, I think that was.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
I've been laminating sheets of this for the last couple days a week with Jeff.
Yeah, you've been doing
Learning
a lot of it, huh?
learning a lot. It's been good.
No, it's good. I'm an epoxy guy. He uses poly.
Yeah.
He's what?
We
I
use
use a lot of epoxy
with
stuff.
with the tails and
Not
stuff.
necessarily
So
boats, but
yeah.
Well, I got the see. I talk about Wanchis in North Carolina. So them guys down there, they're just awesome boat builders, craftsmen. So like, I love the way they build, but I love down east boats. So what I'm doing is kind of merging the two.
Yeah.
I build like they build, but it's a down east boat.
Yeah.
So,
It's a blood and guts boat.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think epoxy's like 20 times stronger. You need less of it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It ends up being lighter.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes
What
sense.
do you guys think about the fishery as it currently stands? I mean, it seems like every year there's 500 new guys doing it, and there's not 500 old guys getting out of it. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. It's
I just think the way that like you can buy any boat now and catch these things, and the market isn't expanding. I think it's contracting.
And it's
Yeah.
accessible. It's not like it's a
accessible.
50-mile run every
Yeah.
day. It's
It's just fish. I mean,
you can
could
go out in a Lund and go
Yeah.
catch one.
Yeah, and there's fish. I mean, it's just I'm young, but like even when I was a little kid, seeing like you'd have one spot that was like pretty good
yeah.
to catch them. But like now you could go to the corner, you can catch one. You go to Middle Bank, catch one. Go to Northwest Corner,
Peek it
catch
Hill,
one.
catch
Go
one.
down the
Peek it Hill,
bay,
catch one.
go
Go
in
down
front
the
of the
bay,
canal.
catch one. It's just it's kind of silly. It's
Rhode
kinda-
Island,
Well, the
Canada, New
the,
York.
the fishery's recovered, and I've talked so much about the fishery, but Joey brought this up. There used to be east of Georgia's a big longline fishery, and they shut it down. Right?
Yeah, well, they can't catch in that.
They can't set longline gear anymore east of Georgia's. And this about, how long, 10, 12 years ago, they shut it down? And when they shut that down, those fish came across Georgia's and weren't getting caught in the long lines and then just kept coming onto the bank and into our area.
See, I think it's just cyclical.
It's just,
I
it's
think-
just
I
crazy how many fish are here now.
That's what my dad thinks too.
I think
My
it's
dad
cyclical.
thinks there's gonna be a big fall and then a big rise up.
Like where the pogies come from. I remember, and we talk about effort though. So like fishery and effort. I remember being a kid, there was way more boats on the southwest corner than an average day.
Yeah, like the
So,
first
like,
few times
we
we giant
blame a
fished, it was
lot of-
insane. There's
Well,
a
I'm
boat
talking
every
about
like
like the
300
90s.
yards.
Like
Yeah.
they used to be like everyone used to be 10 feet apart, hand lining with or using the Black Widows. It
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
there was plenty of effort then. Whatever they call them.
That's
might-
what those
that might be
senators,
his
those old
nickname.
senators are called
That's
Black
his
Widows.
nickname, Black
those
Widow.
big black senators. Well, they're 13s or something?
14
14 odds. Yeah.
Black Widows.
Black Widows, yeah. That's what
Black
they're called.
Black
Beauties,
Widow
actually.
driftwood.
Black Beauties.
Black
Well,
Beauties.
Black Beauties.
Black Widows is a way better name.
Black Widow's way better.
But Black Beauties is what my dad always used
Yeah.
to call them. Those were our first. We had like 10 O's we were using for trolling when we had the small fish around
Yeah.
initially.
But you know what I'm saying? The effort used to be just as much.
Yeah.
So like we blame a lot of different things, and that's why I say it's Japan. When Japan can't take half of the fish that come in throughout a given year, yeah, we're gonna get less money for our fish. It all starts with the consumer.
Yeah.
We have to figure out what's wrong with it at the consumer level before of anything. We can blame this guy, we can blame that guy. We can all argue it, but it's all infighting. We have a problem and it's the consumer.
Right.
Yes.
I think it's
So-
the marketing of the fish.
Yeah.
It's like I said this on one of the other podcasts, maybe 3-4 episodes ago, but my daughter brought home a book. She's 6, talking about different animals, and it was like a new book. It was published I don't know, a couple of years ago. And one of the pages was fish that were like endangered. Bluefin tuna was like the biggest thing on the page.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're still like teaching this from the ground level up, to ingrain in their brains. Even the whale watch boats have posters in whale watch boats saying how bluefin are like.
And imagine how many sushi restaurants or how many top chefs in New York,
Right.
Chicago,
All
Boston,
believe that.
they won't put Bluefin on the menu.
They're scared.
Yeah. Because
They're gonna have a
because it
Karen.
politically sides them.
Yeah, they're gonna have a
And they
Karen
just
that
rather
walks
stay
in.
away from it.
Even though it's a great, the messed up thing is the bluefin that they get is not even from here.
I
Yeah.
know.
We have a beautiful fishery that we can catch these fish 12 months a year. Why don't we? You know, like we get mad at North Carolina because they were over. But like in my head, I'm like, well, that's actually kind of good because it will soften the gap.
Yeah.
Because normally it's closed for 6 months of the year. So all those sushi restaurants or all those restaurants that were buying bluefin from all our buyers have to find another buyer or supplier or whatever.
Yeah.
So now, if that stays open, we might get, we lost 100, whatever.
80 ton or whatever.
Yeah, but that 80 ton actually kind of softened the gap.
Yeah.
So we're almost here to
Yeah, it'd be
June
interesting
1st.
to see what happens with that.
It's obviously,
I think economically it all comes down to the consumer and marketing it and eating our own fish. And I think from a fishing and health of the fishery, I mean, we haven't been doing it as long as you guys have. We've been doing it since we were relatively young, but like the last 10 years, it's just like, dude, can this get better? Like, can it get any better?
a lot of them.
Like we've been dreaming for the last, like since we were 12, we were dreaming to see what we've seen in the last decade.
Yeah. No,
And
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
To go out and like be pretty confident you're gonna have some type of action every day.
Yeah, like mathematically, we average it's like 1.3 bites per day,
That's crazy.
which is insane.
That's insane. For bluefin tuna and around here,
insane.
That's great.
You know that, I mean, I feel like that is at least some proof in the pudding that it is rebounded and we have a.
It's totally rebounded, and it's quota. So like I personally feel the infighting is terrible. Everyone
Agreed.
gets mad at the harpooners. We've had 5 fish in the boat one day, and someone told me we ruined the market, and I look at him, I go, what? You have no idea what you're talking
How about the 6 days that I rotted dark to get this 5
but-
fish day?
What my point is even the general category, the whole general category. So all the bluefin that we all catch between, not even just to have the harpoon in there. Say the harpoon category and the general category. It's something like 3 to 4% of the Atlantic tunas caught every year. So let me repeat that. So
The world quota of the world quota.
No, not the world. Just the Atlantic quota.
Yes.
It's like 3%. And we know these fish are highly migratory. We know they swim to the Med. We know they swim down in the Gulf of Mexico and get caught down in Gulf of America. Excuse me.
Yes,
Gulf
correct.
of America. we know they get caught by Mexico. We know they get caught. Actually, the Japanese longline fleet has more of our quota. They catch more of our fish than we catch. Because they're out off of Bermuda and stuff like that with longline boats.
Yep.
And these fish are swimming out there and getting caught by longliners. So, like, we need to band together and get more quota. Like, North Carolina should be able to fish all year. Like, we should be able to fish all year. Like, there shouldn't be closed days. Closed days, we just need more customers. Like,
Yes.
we need more. It has to
Yeah,
go
even
down.
if there was more quota and we could kill more, we couldn't sell them.
I think you guys did and we're friends with a good majority of those guys, and everyone knows the Wicked Tuna Show and all that. And with the Harpoon Hunters show, one thing that I appreciated was there's definitely conversation that was like specifically aimed at like making that transparent to everyone watching.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, some of the prices I know are fiddled with, and it's just part of it. But I feel they did a pretty good job of showing like there needs to be more domestic consumption. Like they really did show some true real pricing. Like that's
yes.
Yeah, they showed a clip
You
of bringing a fish in
to the restaurant.
and it goes all the way to the restaurant and serving it as a sushi roll. That was awesome.
yeah.
Totally.
You know?
And even the
They
trailer.
only gave that a minute.
I know. They should have been a whole episode.
They
like-
did tours in one of the harpoon boats, the canal. They never showed any of that. They did a lot of stuff that they never actually aired.
Yeah.
That they could have aired. And we don't know yet on season 2, but if there's 14 episodes instead of 9, maybe they'll show more of that kind of
Right.
thing. I mean, they actually did truck a fish right to a chef who actually butchered it right in front of everybody and served it to everybody, and it was pretty cool.
I think the people, I don't, maybe you guys know the people behind the scenes, but they focus so much on the dollar sign. If they focused on the story, I kind of get it, but like even the story part of it is
It's relatable to the
way
common
better.
man, though. That's the thing. It's
That's
like
why.
you get so much footage. I
I don't
understand
know.
the post-production stuff. Thankfully, we have someone helping us with that now, but you did a majority of it. How much effort that is. And then you capture what you guys are capturing. It's hard
So
in post to nail that down to get what we want to see and what the general viewer wants to see. It's just part of,
yeah, I mean, like how
production.
much? So for all of us, right? So we're in the tuna fishery, and,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people watching this podcast or listening to it, like tuna fish, right?
Right.
So like they've seen a picture of. You can go online and see plenty of pictures of people harpooning. It's more of like the TV show needs, like you said, the common man, people out in the Midwest, someone out, in Wyoming.
yeah.
They need to see.
It puts it in a perspective for them because money's relatable to everybody.
Yeah, and
and
that's-
I get that. And at
cool
the end of the
thing-
day, we're
well-
doing. That's like,
Yeah.
is it damn hard to make a living doing it now? Fuck yeah.
it
It's
is.
like nearly impossible. Like you're grasping at straws. Like Taylor and I, like it's gold rush for us during charter season. It is 5 months of 18-hour days, and then we have to supplement it doing what we love, but stuff like this. Like there's no, unless you are an absolute stud and you are lucky and all of that, like you're barely scraping
No,
by.
even do the math of the amount of days you can kill them. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
take June out of the equation, because like you can kill 3, rod and reel wise, I don't know, what is there, 40 days?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If you're getting
In
20
total?
fish in those 40 days, you're doing damn
what
good.
what I love to, it's what I don't like seeing, and I really, really, really don't like seeing, is the commercial guys in the harbor that really commercial, the lobstermen, the mackerel guys like Mike Pratt. Like
Yeah.
it's a shame seeing those guys not fish, because they're the ones when I was growing up that were fishing, and they were full-time lobstermen. Some of them were full-time tuna fishermen, but like it's terrible to see them not have access.
It is.
They have access, but they just don't feel.
Yeah,
like
it's
worth
it's not economically.
So that's what I hate the most. Like obviously the guy, everyone's a free country. You can go do what you want to do, but like that's what I really bugs me the most about it all.
Yeah.
Some of these guys and by the way, 90% of them are nasty fishermen.
Nasty.
And would smoke any one
Mike
of the
puts a
guys
tuna
out
pole.
there.
Mike puts a tuna pole in the water and it bends over.
Yeah. And there's other guys like everyone, Paul Hunig, you name them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys just in my harbor,
Yeah.
your
Oh, yeah.
harbor too, that they're just nasty.
Yeah.
And
Ted Ryan.
They don't even do it.
sneaky nasty.
yeah.
Sneaky nasty. Like humble as pie, doesn't talk much, and he hooks up almost every single time he goes, and he only fishes open days, general category guy.
Yeah. He'll
You
go
know.
out at 7 knots and
Yeah.
just go kill a fish.
Yep, and go off by himself and read the water and fish.
Yeah. It's too much of the radio now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Honestly, we've talked about this before, but you're always gonna have people like the podcast and telling everything and whatever. But honestly, the part of the reason why we did this is to open people's eyes to just go fishing.
yeah.
Like you don't need to replicate what this guy is doing. Like maybe take a piece of what he's doing and take a piece of what Mike's saying, take a piece of what Joe's saying and make it your own program and then just instinctually go fishing. Like that's what this is all about. It doesn't matter if it's tunas, doesn't matter if it's bass, doesn't matter if it's blue marlin. It's like you can pick away at that information and make it your own and make it your own system. Like there's no one person that taught any of us how to do what we do.
No.
You're getting bits and pieces from
a lot of different
from a lot of different people, and you're making it your own. And this was like a good platform to allow all of those guys to have an authentic voice of like how they feel about this and what they do, so people can glean whatever information they want off of them.
Totally. Yeah,
You know?
I mean,
Levels the playing field too, like just getting to know somebody a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, you think of like, you know, you hear some name and you think of like all these things about them, but once you listen to them talk, it's like, oh, they're actually pretty normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I've known Mike's been batshit since I've heard about him, and he's
Yeah.
Confirmed that again,
Yeah.
that he's batshit. But hey, that's what
They're a
separates.
great storyteller.
I mean, I hate to say it, but since I was friggin' 2 years old, I've been turning rocks over, picking up worms, and going fishing. I mean, that's what I've been
Renella
doing.
has a good book about that.
freshwater, saltwater. Once I learned, I didn't even hit the ocean until I was probably 18. And when I did, I was like, oh boy, here we go. It's a whole nother level. And
the love of the ocean.
yeah, it's not a bad habit.
No,
It's a good habit. It's a good thing.
It's
That's why you like to see kids doing it.
yeah, totally. And we talked about that last night.
yeah.
A lot actually. But I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for the season. This has been awesome. I can't thank you guys enough for sitting down and chatting with us. Like, I know I learned a lot tonight.
We'll
and
do
it was
this
just
again.
really nice to.
Well, I got my nice work.
I'm wearing a seal costume next time.
90% of the guys that do this is what their fucking workshop looks like. Our workshop, it looks just like this, except there's some spreader bars hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, the fishermen are some of the best innovators, and to be doing stuff yourself and to be saving money and feel confident on the water, fixing things when you're in 35-foot waves and shit like that. Like, you have to be set up like this and be willing to do it yourself in order to be better every day and be safer every day.
Well, it's it's an expensive
It
thing.
is.
So if you can't do things yourself, it becomes out of.
Or, I mean, you either have to have the dough to not give a shit, or you got to do it yourself.
That's right.
But yeah, we've gone for 2 hours, boys.
Yeah. It's good, man.
Well,
How do you close?
We live on the ocean.
Yeah.
We're so lucky.
Yes.
Like I said, I didn't even see it till I was 18 and realized what was happening, and I was like, "Oh boy," but we're here.
Yeah.
We get to take advantage of it.
Can we do 2 minutes about the foundation?
We're gonna
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
We
I
could
have
put
that
it anywhere.
penciled in my mind. So we will definitely talk about.
Do you want to keep it at the end or put it in the front, or because there's going to be a mid-episode thing about
We're
it
doing
anyways.
both. We're
Okay.
gonna talk about it
Cool.
now.
If
you don't mind.
And then
Nice.
I have the ad that I did the ad that I did before.
Yeah.
So we're gonna put
Oh,
it
yeah.
on this episode too.
Thank you.
But yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about that? I mean, everyone's seen the Dion, who's watched the show saw Dion Foundation on the side of the boat.
Yes.
It's we've mentioned it before on the podcast. We've talked about it a lot, but do you want to
No, totally.
chat a bit about it?
So the 2 years ago, Peter and Maggie, my older son and my younger daughter, got diagnosed with limb girdle muscular dystrophy. I didn't even know what muscular dystrophy was, to be honest, when they got diagnosed. And it's a muscle wasting disease, robs their ability to walk. So, unfortunately, Peter, if we don't do anything, will be in a wheelchair by teenage years. And it does go after the heart and breathing, so we don't know. It's an ultra-rare disease, meaning like we're talking hundreds of people in the United States. That's it. So that's the hardest thing about this. So when we found out, Boston Children's Hospital basically said there's nothing we can do. And I'm like, that sucks. So it was horrible. We decided to start a foundation, and I'm happy to say that Peter next week is getting gene replacement therapy, and it's all because of the foundation and the work that it's been amazing watching the whole community come together. There's people doing events that I don't even know. Like this guy in Dorchester did a truck run. I'm like, what the heck's a truck run? He brought 50 of his friends with triaxles and 18, all these big trucks, and they just got on the Southeast Expressway, drove over the Zakin Bridge up to the Woburn Cloverleaf and back.
Wow.
And everyone had to pay like $200 to get in this parade, and they did it all for the foundation. So like, I didn't even know this guy. Like, it's just amazing. So it's put perspective on life. So when you look at things, and they used to aggravate me before, now I'm just like, whatever. So we feel great. We feel great that we're moving forward with the gene therapy. Peter's going to be the first kid in the whole world to get a treatment. Unfortunately, I learned that the whole pharmaceutical healthcare system's a mess. Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
Yep.
This disease, if it was bigger, we would have had funding a long time ago. Unfortunately, venture capital looks at this and they don't have return on their investment. So they're like, hey, this is going to take X amount of million to get it to the finish line, but we can't get that back, so they don't put any money into it. And then on the flip side, you get plenty of money coming from institution to do proof of concept, which like tells you that this molecule will work or this gene therapy will work, but it dies on the bench because there's not enough kids and no one takes it from there. So that's where the Dion Foundation came in, and we're actually taking the proof of concept to the arm. So it's amazing. Like I just can't believe we're at this point. Unfortunately,
it's pretty amazing. I mean, you and I first had a conversation about this 2 winters ago, and the fact that you're at this step now,
that's wild.
That's
incredible.
It just goes to show how dedicated you and all the supporters of the foundation have been. It's like, that's crazy time.
I was a mess. We went down fishing, and I'm like, I do one day, and we had plenty of weather. It wasn't the weather. I was just like, I get down there, and I'm just like, I'm not myself.
Yeah, head's
like
not
literally sick. That was like 3-4 months after we got diagnosed.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'll go fishing. I'll get my mind off of it for a couple of days, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Joe literally.
I don't think any of us would be able to do it.
He literally got in front of a doctor who was a doctor and a scientist who developed a treatment for muscular dystrophy. He convinced this man to modify the gene therapy treatment for muscular dystrophy to a new drug for limb-girdle muscular dystrophy. He convinced this guy to come up with a version of that drug that would help his kids. He did that. He did it. You have no idea how much of a miracle
insane.
That is. That he did that.
Yeah. And if I can elaborate, it's the problem is, and I hate like big buy. There's a lot of bad players. Like you can look, I can go look at every side of it. I don't care where you fall on the political line and all that stuff. What happened to this before in this disease is the proof of concepts get started by these small biotech companies, right? And then all these guys have an exit plan, and their exit plan is to sell. So these big biotechs look at these proof of concepts and they buy them. But what do they do with them? A lot of times they just put them on the shelf. And they don't do anything with them. And it's like a baseball card to these folks.
Right. In case something happens and they're ready to go.
Well, until they absolutely have an easy pathway without any obstacles to get the drug in the market. Or someone like us comes along.
Yeah.
People like us come along. And we start flipping tables over. So that's kind of what happened with this disease is there was some proof of concept. It was all great. Fine and dandy. And then the company got bought by a bigger company. The people that started it all got paid out. They're all happy. They're like, ooh, we got a shitload of money now. But it stopped. But they thought it was going to keep going. So with us, we're like, no, it's just flat out like all foundation. And with the company we're working with is actually from France, and they're small, so we issued a grant to them to bring the trial to the United States and start dosing patients. Since then, we got the first 2 patients in the trial, which was Peter and Maggie, and now they're having a hard time with funding again, so it's not over. It's crazy. Like he was acting weird, and then we're like, what's going on? And we we talked him into at least making another deal to fund more kids, because it's like, we can't stop now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's bigger. I mean,
it's huge, you know,
it's your kids, but it's bigger than that.
it's bigger than that. Now the whole community looks up after us, and it's just, we're making a
inspirational.
difference. You know, it's crazy to see. It feels good.
It's great.
It feels good. So I just pray for them, because
And we do too. We wish you guys the best of
it
luck.
might not. Gene therapy, we got to manage our expectations. I met a 23-year-old kid that got dosed at Peter's age, and the kid could have put me in a headlock and beat me up. And I started crying when I saw him. I'm like, yeah, I love you. Like, this is amazing. If my son can be like this at 23 years old, it's a huge success. Because right now, Peter can't get upstairs. I'm carrying him upstairs. Can't forget about the harpoon boat. Like, I'm trying to figure out ways to, like, design a cat, like some sort of lift for him, so get him up in the tower, you know, like, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I mean, it's emotional, but Dion Foundation, you check it out, buy shirts.
Yes.
You know, it's
Donate $5, $10, $25, $100, anything you can.
$100,000.
$5.
you got it all.
Yeah,
It will help a lot of kids.
If you know something.
Directly, and there's no baloney with this. It's just going directly to
100% goes back to the search for cure for children's rare diseases.
Well, it's fun in the trial, you know, so it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've,
Thank you for asking.
We had a couple people reach out to us just mentioning that they heard us talking about it, you know, when we posted it up, whatever it was, like a year or so ago. And I'm hoping they worked their way somehow into supporting, donating, funding, whatever. That's insane though. I mean,
Yeah.
like, as a dad, like, that's I can't even imagine the feeling.
That's your kids. I mean, you guys have kids. You do anything for them, you know. Anyone, you do the same thing I'm doing.
Yeah, 100%.
Timing, you gotta timing. You gotta just not. Can't take no for an answer, but like we've been lucky to get this far, and I just hope that it keeps going. You know.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
wish you the best, man.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Hard, but incredible what you've done and the amount of time that you've been had the diagnosis to now. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Flipping tables over. That was the best part. You got to.
You gotta. It's the only way to get anything done.
You know, I can't imagine there's much more intimidating thing than a Yankee like you getting up in someone's face about their kids and getting shit pushed through. I wouldn't want to be that person.
Just walk in with that cable.
Yeah. It all
I'll give you the bronze dart.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The
Bronze mackerel.
I'm gonna give you the bronze mackerel.
Yeah.
That's the name of this podcast. The
It all-
Bronze Mackerel.
Yeah.
bronze
It all.
mackerel.
Yeah.
There you go. It all ties in. You know, the show even ties in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. Fishermen are a community. Like, even you get the battles, internal battles, but at the end of the day, everyone's
Yeah.
Got
Someone's
facts.
sinking, you're going to save them,
No, 100%.
you know? Total topic change, but we can't end this without me actually getting the answer. Where did Hackah come from?
Oh,
You knew it was coming.
yeah.
Is it a fishing thing?
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's a fishing thing.
Yeah.
It's a two-part story. And you know what? I'll tell you the whole story. 5 of us were down at Long Pond, and we were trout fishing. We had, in my K5 Blazer, our saltwater surf casting rods for the canal, and we had our trout rods. So the hatchery truck pulled out, dumped, I don't know how many thousands of trout into the pond. And a bunch of the guys at the pond cut their lures off and put treble hooks on, right? We said, that's it. Let's go down the canal, see if anything's showing down there. We go pulling out of Long Pond. Here comes the environmental police. So I stick my hand out the window. And I go, hey, you going down and check the ramp? He goes, yeah. I go, make a bunch of those guys reel in their rods real quick and check their rods. He goes, why? What's up? I go, there's a bunch of hackers down there. He goes, a bunch of what? He goes, a bunch of what? I go, hackers. He goes, what's a hacker? I go, a hacker's a guy who, when the hatchery truck pulls up, cuts their lure off, puts a treble hook on, starts snagging the stock trout. He burned rubber, went flying down the ramp, and we all drove away laughing our asses off, right? So we get down the canal, right? And my buddies are just, they're still laughing about this whole thing, right? We get down to the canal, the railroad bridge, across the other side of the canal.
Oh, yeah.
And
Went
there's
to
got to
school
be
right there.
There's got to be 20 trucks lined up. Everyone's got their fancy rod holders in the front of their trucks, and they got all their rods ready to go with their lures hanging off. And out in the middle of the canal, a bunch of bluefish pop up, right? And everybody jumps out of their trucks, and I don't know, half of them had to snap their lures off and sent them out into the middle of the canal. So I yell out the window, hackers! All of a sudden, here they come. They're coming over to the truck, right? They come up to the window of the truck, and the guy, there's like 5 of them, right? They go, what'd you call us? I go, I called you a hacker. The guy goes, what's a hacker? I go, a hacker's a guy who sees a bluefish in the middle of the canal and snaps his $20 lure off trying to catch a goddamn bluefish, not a striper. And the guy looks at me and goes, okay, I can live with that. So then all my buddies from that day on, they called me the hacker.
That's perfect.
That
is perfect.
That's the
amazing.
whole story.
I've never heard it.
I'm going to be...
You've never heard it?
Never heard it.
No way. Do you just call it? What do you call him? Mike or Hackah? Okay.
Well, it depends.
Everyone-
If he's talking too much, I call him Yappa.
Well, it's funny you say that. I have a lot of nicknames, but I named a boat the Hackah. One of my boats is called
That's a
Hackah.
great name.
It's stuck. It's stuck for a long time.
It's a great name.
And I remember driving out of the harbor at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'd hear people yelling off the dock at the top of their lungs, Hackah! You'd hear it echoing down through the whole harbor at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was leaving. But
Nicknames and fishermen.
it's always fun, It was always
It's awesome. Oh, that's too funny. Well, I can't wait to yell hacker in about, what is it? We got about
2 months.
month and a half before we see you.
June 1st.
Yeah.
Well, earlier than that, we're going to see you
2 months.
in the river.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
In the fog.
Middle of May. Yeah.
Middle of May.
First week of May, they're there,
Yep.
What's the biggest fish you got in the river?
Probably a 40-pounder.
Nice.
I can't get to 50 in the river. I like the river a lot, though.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah.
Everyone asks me, what are you doing in the river? There's fish, there's fish at Beetles, there's fish at Bray Rock, there's fish in front of the harbor, there's fish at High Pines. Well, there's fish in the river, too. You want to stay out there? You stay out there. I'm going to go in the river.
Yeah.
All by myself, nice and quiet, safe.
High tide sunrises in the river is hard to beat.
Yeah, those fish that are in the brown water at dead low tide, though, too. I mean,
True.
it doesn't matter.
When you get
They don't leave the
when you
river.
get on one of those half falling tide herring blitzes in there,
Oh, my
it
God.
is fucking unbelievable.
Fantastic.
World class stuff.
Yeah. When you can't even see over the banks.
Yeah.
The fish are still right there. People think, what do you guys think? They swim out to the mouth of the river every day and swim back into the river?
I went out one morning by myself, hooked several in the skiff, broke one off, went back out to a tide cycle later and caught one of the ones I broke off, had my leader fresh hook in his mouth.
Really?
Yeah. So same exact hole.
Well, you heard about Cody Pratt, Mike Pratt's son, right? He tagged
Yeah.
in the South River, I don't know, 100 stripers or something. And the next year, last year, he caught 10 of those stripers that he tagged underneath the same dock that he tagged them.
Wow.
Incredible.
So,
That's crazy.
yeah, that is
It's
crazy.
crazy.
That's an up and coming
So
killer.
talk about a fish. No one.
Yeah.
Watch
No,
out for
Oh,
that.
Great
I
to
know.
see him.
I know.
Grow up.
You talk about like a fish knowing.
Well, the worst part is
water.
he
They
likes
know
it.
It's like
Yeah.
a road. It's like a highway.
He's got a good
Yeah.
teacher, too.
Yes, he
It's
does.
like a highway. How
It
do
is
they
like a
get-
highway.
They
He's
know.
got a good teacher, and he likes it. So.
It's amazing how they know that.
He actually did a podcast with somebody.
Who?
Cody did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. I listened to the chunk of it.
Yeah, he's super into the whole artificial game in the river. I'm like, I'll take a live herring all day long.
Oh yeah, me too.
Give me a live herring. Mother's Day
I'm good with a
weekend,
dead
game
herring.
over.
I'm good with fine with a dead herring too.
Yeah, yes. Or dead tinker mackerel.
They're so easy to catch. The herring.
Yeah.
That's what you catch May 1st. That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you catch the first
It's so
couple weeks
fun
of
Fill
May.
it up.
Bass fishing with live bait is so fun.
It's sick.
It's so fun.
And you asked me what bait I'd prefer in the river for bass. Holy crap. Those herring are just like,
Automatics.
oh my God.
Automatic.
I mean, you bring mackerel and they're good and everything, but boy,
Plus, you're going to get
those
the bigger
herring.
ones.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, boys, thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
again.
Thank
I
you.
just want to, before we end on OG's words of wisdom, to say Taylor and I have looked up to the two of you guys for a long time.
Hell yeah.
Stories through the grapevine. It's been awesome to finally spend a little bit of time on the boats with you over the last few years, and looking forward to many more years on the water together. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having us.
Anytime.
It was interesting.
It's fun.
Yeah. No, it's
We'll do
fun.
it again.
We'll do it again. Yeah, I know you got a lot more.
You only did 2
stories.
hours.
Oh,
this
there's
time.
more
We'll do
stories.
3 next time.
We'll get
More
to it.
beers.
Plenty more stories.
This is going to be a popular one, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh, you think
of
so?
course.
Oh, yeah.
Especially that seal story.
Yeah.
That's going on
cannot-
So
Instagram.
bizarre. I'm telling you, to this day, I still want to know what those other 6 fish ate. I want to know what those other.
The hands killing me. Killing me. I lost
Paul,
it at
I'm
hands.
telling you, you know how a seal has that.
Oh, yeah.
He's feeling them things, and he's going, Mike, there's hands inside.
Oh,
I'm
God.
like, what?
That's too awesome. Well, thank you guys again. We'll end this on our father's 3 words of fishing wisdom. Remember, you can't catch them if you don't have a hook in the water. Always trust your instincts. And the last one, you'll have to keep listening. Stay tight, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in to the SeaBros Fishing Podcast. If you would like more information about today's guest, our episode, and show sponsors, or if you want to order hats and apparel, please visit our website at seabrosfishing.com. You can also stay up to date on all the latest SeaBros Fishing content and podcast episodes by following us on Instagram at SeaBros Fishing. Finally, to book a trip with us through our family-run charter fishing company, please visit massbayguides.com or see our latest updates and fishing reports by following Mass Bay Guides on Instagram and Facebook.